All
right.
right, I'm not gonna start the episode off. You can tell everybody how we know each other.
All right. So I met Giselle, probably in the most pivotal point of my soccer career. I was 13 years old playing for TSF. I actually got cut the first year, didn't make the team. Went to a team in New York, played 1 year, built myself up, and then I came back for a tryout, and I got signed to TSF, and that's how I met Giselle. That's how the beautiful story started. The funny thing is when we first met, though, we weren't as close as we are now.
I low key hated you.
Yeah, we.
Was he a better player, or why'd you hate him?
I think we played the same position.
Oh.
Yeah, and we were just like very different.
Yeah, I was a big mouth, big shot, and Giselle wasn't like that. He was kind of low key,
Yeah.
doing his own thing. But I think as time went on, and we both really connected with Coach John, which was our coach, right after we met, and I think that's what kind of started. We started kind of respecting each other a lot more, in that sense. But I think we didn't. I also didn't. Me and Giselle didn't get along because we were two different type of players. He was a nose hard work player, the type of player that he's always gonna give you that 8.0 game, right? He's never gonna go and do something that's out of his repertoire. Like he's gonna always defend well, attack well, tackle hard, do the right thing at the right time. And I was a very flair player. So when I would take Giselle on, I was like not even trying to score. I was just trying to embarrass players. And I think it was good because Coach John brought something different out of us. He was what I was missing, he gave to me, like that grit, and what Giselle was missing to get out of his comfort zone, he gave it to him. And then I think it was kind of how our relationship started. We kind of went our separate ways in college, right? Because I feel like that happens all the time. People just kind of go their separate ways. And then after college, actually right before, this was like right around my senior year, we kind of started reconnecting again. It was after my senior year. We reconnected again through Eric Klenofsky. I reached out to Eric for help to get into the pro game because I was trying to chase my career, and he was like, hey, you should come train with Giselle. And it was just around the time where he was he was taking over the gym. And then
So at the time, Eric was playing for DC United, and he was just home and around, and then
He
we
had
had gotten
just-
to the conversation. Yeah.
he had just gotten
Told him to train
surgery,
with
Yeah.
and you were helping him recover with
Yeah.
his surgery. And the first couple of times at the gym were terrible. I hated it. But for some reason, I just never. It was like I hated it, but I loved it. Like I just never stopped going back. And then Eric left, and me and Giselle we kind of we glued together.
So
Conversations.
what were you training for?
you. Yeah.
At the time I was training because I wanted to go pro, but I didn't have a roadmap.
Mhm.
Right? I didn't know how it was gonna happen. I just always had faith that it would. I'm a huge prayer, and I have just faith in speaking to God and things like that, and I just always felt like it was gonna happen. And I think I was so close. I got so close with Giselle because we were both trying to do something that wasn't. Neither of us had a roadmap for.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was taking over a gym, right? And he didn't know where he was gonna go after that, right? And I only know this because he told me, right? At the time when I would look at him, I'm like, damn, this guy knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly where he's going. He's taking over a gym, like doing all this on his own. And I thought that he had a roadmap. And then as conversations got deeper, he's like, I'm figuring out as we go.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Freestyle master, baby.
That's what every
Like,
entrepreneur,
yeah.
even with a bed, yeah, with his marketing group or his media firm, he was just figuring out as he goes.
yeah. So I think that was a huge thing where I was like, okay, I guess I'm not the only one that's crazy, right? Because you think you're crazy for a long time.
Yeah.
People look at you and they're like, bro, you're 24, like, give it up, right? Like,
Yeah, are you dumb with your little ass gym? You're never gonna open a gym, bro. Like
Yeah,
stuff
they're
like
like,
that.
oh, really? You're gonna take on retro? You're gonna open a what? So powerlifting? What? Nah.
so
Yeah, you can't give up on yourself.
the thing was, the more people talked to me like that, the more I felt like it was gonna happen.
It fired you up.
Yeah,
Because you were close. You're getting close.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you don't know how much work I've put in, so how do you know that it's not gonna happen? Like,
Right.
you're not there when I go to Giselle at 10 in the morning or at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the first couple of times when I would go train with him and throw up, literally.
Yeah.
Like, Josel, I need to go to the bathroom real quick. Go and throw up, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to work out anymore?" I'm like, "No, let's go." And I'm like, pale.
Boot and rally.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah.
But it was like those moments. It was like I wanted them. I wanted them to happen, right? Because those moments of adversity is where you grow.
Yeah.
Right. And as they're happening, you're like, this is terrible. But after you get over it, it's like, wow, that was beautiful.
Who is your biggest supporter in that dream of going pro?
My mom.
Your mom?
For sure. It wasn't not even close.
How would she support you?
In every single way possible. Financially, mentally, nutrition-wise. I grew up in a single-family home. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but I didn't have my own room until I was 27. I'm 29. So I slept in the same room as my mom my whole entire life. The thing was, I could have had it different, right? Because we could have gotten a bigger space. But then the finances that went towards building my soccer career would have gone out the window.
Right.
So it was like, okay, do I sleep in this room with my mom, right? I still have the freedom to do whatever I want in my career, or do we move to a bigger house? I have my own room, I have my own space, but my career's kind of, there's no finances. Like, I have to get a job, I have to do all these things that take away time from me being on the field, you know? Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, so like, what other? Let's backtrack a little bit. What other nuances with someone that wants to become a professional in what they're doing? So for your case, soccer, sacrifices like that. Like, okay, I'm making a real like life. This affects my life. Like, I'm sharing a room with my mom at whatever age.
Yeah.
So what other things exist that people don't think about, or things that you went through that people would have no idea unless you told them on your whole path? And then kind of run us through the path of getting to signing your contract and then now.
So, first part, I think the biggest thing that people encounter that they're not ready for is loneliness. It's so lonely, and I don't mean lonely as the sense of like people, right? Because there's always people around. There's always people that you can communicate. I think lonely in the sense of inside of your head, right? Because you're the only one that's doing this. You're the only one that's 24 years old and hasn't signed a professional contract, right?
So there were other 24-year-olds that with a professional contract already?
Usually, so as a soccer player, let's go back to the beginning. As a soccer player, you usually sign your first professional contract between the age of, I mean, if you're a superstar, it's like 14 to 18.
14?
Yeah. So like Endrick just signed for Real Madrid. He's 16 years old.
Like
he's
Major League Soccer?
No, he plays.
No, this is way, yeah.
This is
like
like
in Europe, yeah.
What?
This is like Champions League football. This is like the mecca of football, and he plays on, I mean, they're my rival, but the best team in the world right now, you can say.
But I'm just asking because of the general audience, if they don't know when people get signed or picked up, because you figure in football, right, you're picking up a college kid, he's playing all 4 years for sure, and then you go into the NFL.
Yeah.
So with soccer, you could get picked up as early as 14.
So in Europe, there's no college. College is only an American thing for soccer. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So there's clubs, right? And then you get drafted.
There's no draft. So this is how it works in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You start off, right? Let's say you play lower league football. You can start as a kid, right? You play for a small club. At these games, there's scouts constantly there watching. As you get better, they're like, all right, let's keep a tab on Josel. All right, let's keep a tab on this player. Let's keep a tab on that player. As those players get better, they pick them up and put them into their academy. So there's the biggest teams in England, let's say, for example, they have all youth teams where they pick up young, talented players. And the goal for those young, talented players is to make it to the first team and make millions of dollars. That doesn't happen for everybody. So, like, out of all those players, maybe, let's say they have a pool of, an example, 50 players. Out of those 50 players, there's maybe a chance of 5 to get first team football. And some of those players, like, one of the big things is some of those players end up committing suicide because they don't live up to their dreams, or things don't go the way that they planned, right?
Or they're lonely, like you said.
Very lonely. So they get cut and they're like, this is the end. I don't have nowhere to go. And they choose to do other things, you know what I mean? But in America, we have to go to college. right?
Mhm.
Unless you're playing for a high level club team. And those high level club teams, those players either choose to go to college or choose to go the pro route.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of players who play, for example, they play on Red Bulls their whole career, and then because they play on Red Bulls and they're really good, they get scholarships from Duke and Syracuse and UCLA and all these big schools.
Mhm.
And then they go to those schools, they play 3-4 years, then they get drafted. In Europe, that draft period that college/draft period doesn't exist.
Mhm.
So these kids get signed from 16, right? When you're gonna go to college,
Yeah.
they go or 17, they go pro.
Damn.
So in Europe and here, I think the average age of a soccer player getting signed would probably be around between 18 and 23. Would you agree? In America,
Yeah.
18
Yeah,
and
I would
22.
say so. So I looked
So
up the stat for the EPL, so the English Premier League. The statistic of players that make it from academy to pro is less than 1%. It's 0.012.
At what age though? Like, because you're mentioning at 24, you felt pretty left out that, oh, people are getting signed, but I'm 24 and I'm not. To me, I go, that's still pretty young.
Yeah.
You're in your youth, but I guess in the pros,
Yeah.
that's your time's ticking.
yeah,
Right.
because the older you get, the less time you have for a team to invest in you, right? So you're the average soccer player career. Not talking about people like Ronaldo and other players who break that barrier is about used to be about 35
Yeah.
years old. So think about it, as you get into your 20s and you get closer to that 35, that's less time that they have to have you, right? So why invest in a 25-year-old when I can invest in an 18-year-old who has, I don't know, 5-6 years to make mistakes? When he gets to 25, he's a baller. I can sell him, I can keep him, I can whatever.
He's a commodity.
Yep.
Well, how old is Messi?
Messi right
I'm
now
not too
is
familiar with soccer, but he's a
35
big
or
name.
36.
And he's still like a high price tag.
Well, he's Messi. Him and Ronaldo. So people, a lot of times when they talk about football, they're like, oh, Messi and Ronaldo and this and that. They don't realize how consistent they've been over the years, right? They've been doing the same exact thing for like 15 years, which is not really ever seen. That's why they're known as the GOATs, because, I mean, for 15 years to be consistent, like that's insane. Over 50 goals every year, 60 goals every year.
So that's why they're
That's
at the top of their game.
Yeah, they'll in our lifetime. I don't want to say that because I hope to see other players, right, that are great. But I think in our lifetime we won't see two players at that level at the same time. I don't know if you would agree.
Is that a rare thing, Josel? Like being in that world of soccer, seeing two people that consistent, that good. Is there anybody even close?
I would say no. Like
Stevie's close.
I wish.
Yeah, no, I would say no. Yeah.
What makes them different though, other than the consistency? Like what moves, is that something you work on?
So I think Ronaldo is the purest scorer in the game. Like he can score. Somebody said this in a quote, and I think it was spot on. They said something about Ronaldo being able to score for the worst team in the Premier League. Like he'd still be able to win them games, as opposed to like Messi, who's a little bit more, is a different type of player, right? Because Ronaldo's like, he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he can jump high, he can do a lot of things that his body allows him to do, right? Messi's is a different type of player because he uses his brain a lot more. He's more of a passer. He's more of he's gonna look this way, but he's gonna play that way. As opposed to Ronaldo's like, I'm going here and you can't stop me because I'm too good. You know what I mean? It's like two different kind of ways to get the job done.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think we'll ever see two players like that ever. We'll see players like that. We just won't see them at the same time. Is what I think.
Oh, so their careers are still
Going.
Oh, they're not like
Not yet.
retiring
Not
anytime
yet.
soon.
I think they'll both play this next World Cup, and then I think they'll both maybe not retire, but maybe they'll retire from international football and then just play with their clubs and go on to bigger things. I think Ronaldo. I think he'll be a coach one day for his kid too. His kid's a baller.
Oh, his kid
Yeah,
plays. How's the kid?
probably like 12 maybe.
Yeah, he's probably a teenager now.
Yeah.
So he could get picked up pretty soon.
I mean, he's been training with his dad and for every team that his dad has played for. So I think he's in for sure already. He just has to keep training.
That's one other roadmap in. If you're in the family business, I guess
Yeah.
you're in.
I mean, it's not who you know, it's what you know, right?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
at
to
least
get back
at least
to
that's what you think.
to get back to Josel's question, like it sounds as if we're trying to see the biography between what it took to get to where you are now or currently. What's that roadmap look like? Because you said I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't know how to get
Yeah.
there. I was just putting in the work. So, like, walk us through that. Even like the tough times too, adversity. You say that builds character, that makes you a better person. So, what is it that people don't see that you're putting in to get to the majors?
Yeah, lead us up to your first contract
Yeah.
Where should I start from the beginning? So I think I faced
after Montclair, after college. So we just started training together, and we're in it now.
Okay. So yeah, so we were training, and I think what Giselle helped me the most, other than the gym and my body and being strong and powerful and all that stuff, was my mental side. Right? He was like, "Yo, you should read this book," and then I would read it, and I'd be like, "That was a good book." He's like, "Now you should read this one."
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of like feeding me, like baiting me, but not really telling me why to read it. He's like,
Baiting you.
he's like, read this. I'm like, all right, what's it for? He's like, read it.
Just read it.
Just read it. And then I would come back like 2 weeks later, and I'm like a different animal. I'm like eating raw meat off the ground, like you know what I mean? Like it's like it was kind of that. And then I was at Montclair, and I was just kind of training. I was training with Giselle, training at this other facility called AP2T. So I would go to Giselle in the morning.
Wait, no, we were going too fast. Slide us back to your college career, because I think I want anybody listening to this to like see the whole ups and downs of your journey, because your
Yeah,
whole
so-
story is kind of crazy.
So you played soccer in college.
Yeah, I went to Montclair State, not too far away from here.
What wouldn't make it to where you just went to Europe and went to a club or an academy? Because you said in Europe there was no college. You
So-
skipped that step.
Okay, so let's go back to my high school career.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I was above average student, but I wasn't a great student. And I had scholarships to go to pretty big schools, but they never gave me a full ride. So I had a scholarship to go, for example, to Cornell, $50,000 school. They're like, your grades aren't good enough. We'll give you $20,000 a semester. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So it happened constantly with schools. Like, oh, this school, not enough money. That school, not enough money, right? So it came up to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay somewhere close to home. Went to Montclair State, was on the campus for like 5 minutes, and I was like, this is it. This is where I want to go. I go to Montclair, sell me a dream. We're going to play good football. We're going to play it out of the back, this, that, the other. I get there, first college game. I'm 17 years old. My mom has to sign a permission slip for me to be able to travel. We get to the game. We're playing Rowan University. Their starting center back was 28 years old.
In college?
In college. Starting
He's a
center
super senior.
So he just went to school late.
There's no cap on.
28 years old.
That's kind of weird. But
And it's like, how do you even compete with that?
He's not giving up his dream.
Yeah, he's balling, right? He's killing. I first tackle of the game, puts our player off on the sidelines, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
like tackle.
Like you just tackled him, just
And
got the ball. The trainer had to come in. Player was out for the game.
that wasn't a foul or anything.
Probably got a yellow card, but you're out for like 2 minutes, and then you're back in the game. It's not really. So
Damn.
that was my first college game, and I didn't play 1 minute.
You
1 minute.
sat.
I sat the whole game. I had never sat in my whole entire life, ever. So I get to the game, right? You're a freshman. You're like, ooh, you're warming up. You know, crowd is getting there. Lights are turned on. The floodlights are turned on. It's getting like, it's warm, right? It's September. You're like, oh, I can't wait to get in this game.
Yeah.
You warm up a little bit. Coach calls you to the sideline, sends some players to warm up. You're warming up. Halftime goes by. You still don't go in. 60th minute goes by. You still don't go in. It's like the 85th minute. You're like, Coach, come on, put me in 5 minutes. I'll give you everything I got. Doesn't put you in. My mom picked me up after the game. I sat in the back seat, hugging the chair for 45 minutes, crying
Because you didn't play.
because I didn't play. I had never not played in my life.
I mean, you were a freshman though, right?
Yeah.
This was the varsity.
This was
team,
like
or
this was my college team. So there's only one team.
only one team
Yeah.
in college. Okay.
So
gotcha.
it was definitely a hard moment, right? You go from kind of being the best player on every team you've ever played on, right? I had just won National Player of the Year in Florida with our TSF team.
Damn.
And I had just gotten top goal scorer of that tournament, which was really cool. And then I go to college and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play, and you don't play 1 minute, and you're
And
like,
that's
wow.
humbling.
Yeah, super. It was probably the start of the up and down adversity that you face
Yeah.
as an athlete. Um, and then after that, I played at Montclair that 1 year.
Mhm.
Uh, season comes to an end of season meeting. I get cut from the team.
So you didn't play any games.
I played some games. I think, I actually hold the record there for most consistent penalties scored. I think it's like 3 or something in a row.
And you still get cut.
And I get cut at the end of that, but the coach had every reason to cut me. So since I started not playing, I started to have a bad attitude.
Mm.
So I would train hard. So my friends would always make fun of me because I would train like it was a game day.
Mhm.
Like every game was a game. Like every training session was my game because I knew I wasn't gonna get in, and if I did get in, it was not a lot of time, right? So my way of, okay, I'm gonna make this the best for me. I'm just gonna train really hard at practice.
Mhm.
My attitude was bad, in the sense of, like, towards my coach, and I wouldn't never say anything, but it was just like I didn't care, right?
You were upset with him.
I was upset with him because I thought that I should be playing more. I feel like that's any athlete, right? They always think that, even if you look at the pros now, a player gets subbed off and they're mad, but it's like, you have to, it's part of the game,
Yeah.
right? And as a young player, that's hard to understand.
Mm.
So I kind of had a bad attitude. Um, I would still train really hard, but my attitude wasn't good, right? Like I wasn't a good teammate. I wasn't somebody that you would think a good teammate, right? Because it was always about me. Like, I'm gonna have a good practice. I'm gonna get the ball and try and score as many goals, or try and get as many assists as I can.
Mm.
But if somebody didn't play me the ball, like, yo, Josel, play it to my feet, right? You don't want to hear that as a coach. You want to hear as a coach, like, oh, it's all right. Next one, play me, or next one, find me, right? It's
Yeah.
different. The context is different, right?
Yeah.
The way that the person might feel towards you is different. So I got cut, and at the time, my grades were okay, right? So my first thought was transfer, run from your problems, right? That's what we usually think, right? Transfer, run,
Instead of run through them. Yeah.
run through them.
Yeah, it's typical.
I go to my counselor and I was like, oh, I want to transfer. She's like, oh yeah, let me look at your transcripts and stuff. She's like, you failed math.
Mm.
I was like, okay. She's like, you can't transfer. That math class lowered your GPA to the point where you can't transfer. You have to bring it back up in order to be able to be eligible to transfer and play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I take a summer course. Get an A, obviously, because my soccer career depended on it.
Mm-hmm.
Get an A. Transfer. I transferred for 1 day to Bloomfield College. I get there. Coach offers me a scholarship for the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
I go to signing day. I go to sign my scholarship. No money. We don't have enough money to give you. I'm like,
So how is it a scholarship?
that's what I said. And they're like, oh, well, we'll offer you a scholarship next year and pay for everything. I'm like, well, I need the money now. I
ain't
can't.
gonna play unless you guys pay me. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So he, in a conversation of that lasted maybe 3 minutes, he goes, I walk into the counselor's office. I'm ready to sign my scholarship to take my courses and pick up my classes and whatever the steps are. And coach comes in and he's like, oh, Stevie, nice to see you, man. Happy that you're with us, whatever. I'm like, coach, I was just talking to my counselor. She said, you guys didn't have any money to offer me. And he's like, oh, yeah, I had spoken to your dad about that we were going to try to figure it out, but we don't have any money. I'm like, okay. So how much is it to go here?
Mm-hmm.
$15,000 a semester. But I'm paying $7,000 at Montclair.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was going to come here was because you were going to give me a scholarship, not because I wanted to pay more money to come here.
Right.
And at Montclair, it's a D3 school, so they don't really offer you scholarships. I had an academic one from my senior year going into my freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like a yearly thing. It's a one-time scholarship, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So I go back to the counselor, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. You're going to have to remove me from all the class. She's like, wait, but I just signed you up. Like, I just did everything. I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm going to go back to Montclair. She's like, all right, yeah, I hope to see you around, whatever. I leave Bloomfield College, go back to Montclair. And then it was already getting too late in the semester, so I stayed. That next semester, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can to get back on the team. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
took all my courses, all straight A's, 4.0 GPA at the end of the semester, and I got onto the dean's list. I reached out to the coach of the school, Montclair State, Mr. Todd Tumulty, who I respect a lot now. He taught me a lot, even though at first it was rough. I reach out and I ask him to try out again. He's like, sure, you can try it again. Practices are in the spring at 6 a.m. Cool, 6 a.m. sessions. So I had a class at 8:15. So practice would start at 5:45. It would end at 7. It would end like my first class was at 8:30, if I'm not mistaken. Practice would end at 7:45. I would drive to a friend's house nearby, shower, and go to class. We did this for about 2 or 3 months. Made it to the last day, and then he cut me again.
And this was just practice.
Yeah, this was to get back onto the team.
Yeah.
So he cut me again. He's like, you can't come. We're not gonna sign you for the season.
It's like going to a workout.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. That happened. I told my mom. She's like, you have to leave. Now you have to leave. This is your chance to go. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna explore my options. I reach out to my friend Santi. He was going to Kane, and I tell him, hey, can you talk to the coach? Let me get a tryout, whatever. I try out without even going to Kane. So I'm telling him like, yeah, I'm doing all my transcripts. Don't worry. Gives me a tryout. Gives me the chance to come to the trial. I make the team. He's like, yeah, you're a good player. We'll sign you.
But you're not even registered.
Meanwhile, I'm not registered. So no one knows this. Not even Santi. I had told him that I was gonna register. So he's like, yeah, you can come to the team. We start preseason next week. Perfect. I have a week to do all my stuff. So I left Montclair, told him I wasn't coming back. Took my transcripts, came to Kane. So everything is going perfect at Kane. This is funny. Everything's going great at Kane, right? I'm playing. I'm a squad player, right? I'm part of the team. I'm getting a lot of minutes. I scoring goals, getting assists, like all doing really well. And at first day of school, so we're already into the season. So usually the season starts before school starts. So we go into the first week of school, and I get an email from Kane University. Welcome, freshman. Freshman? I'm a junior. What do you mean freshman? I open the thing, and it's like, oh, welcome to Kane University, whatever. We're happy to have you, this, that, the other. And I'm like, but I'm not a freshman. I'm a junior. Why am I getting a freshman email? So I go to my counselor. She's like, oh, yeah, you only got 22 credits out of 66 transferred over. So you're a freshman again, credit-wise. And I'm like, what?
Out of 66?
Out of 66 credits, they gave me like 20-something. So I was still a freshman. And I was like, damn, I can't do that.
Was this when they went to a university? Because I know King was King College when I was back
No. So in college, every college has the right to deny certain classes or credits.
Because it doesn't meet their...
Yes, and Montclair and Kane have a little bit of a rivalry because they're both known as the best schools for physical education, which is my degree. So they're like, yeah, you're a freshman. And I'm like I'm going throughout the season. Now I'm stressing about my schoolwork because I'm like, I'm playing soccer and it's really fun and I love it. But I'm going backwards in school when I did so much work to be a dean's list student, to have a higher GPA, to be able to, go forward in life. So as the season's going on, I was still obviously talking to my best friend back in Montclair. His name's Mike, and I'm telling him like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to Montclair, whatever. I mentioned it to a couple people, and which I shouldn't have. And coach got ear of it. He calls me into his office at Kane, and he's like, hey, I heard you're going back to Montclair. At this point I'm doing very well. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going back right now, but I might explore the option in the future, not because of soccer, but because of school. He's like, yeah, I realized that you told me you were a junior, but when you show up, it comes up as a freshman. And I checked your credits, and I see why. And I'm like, yeah, I lost a lot of credits, which means I lose a lot of money if I stay at Kane because I have to basically pay my way through again.
Yeah.
So he's like, look, I'm a new coach, and I want to build a program with people who are going to be here for the long run. And I can't have someone who's not going to be here for the long run. And I was like, but I'm giving you my all. He's like, you are, but if I let you stay when people already know that you're going to leave, how does that make me look? So I was like, I get it. He's like, yeah, return all your stuff and we'll part ways. So same moment, went home, grabbed all my Kane stuff, brought it back to the school, handed it over, and I never stepped foot on Kane campus again.
Until now.
Yeah. So I went back to Montclair, and then I started taking my courses again. I was like, you know what? If I can't get back on the team, I'm gonna look for any way to play. So I would go anywhere to play.
What
throughout
other
this time.
opportunities other than college?
So
if it wasn't that.
So I would play anywhere. I would play by myself with a wall. Like I would go to different places that I could go to that I knew they would play pickup and stuff, and I would play against old people, young people, middle-aged people. I would play against grandma, anybody.
I meant like as far as getting looks from the pros.
So at this point, I wasn't even thinking about the pros.
Why'd you give that up?
It wasn't that I gave it up. I was more focused on like I need to get out of what I'm doing right now to get to where I need to go.
Okay.
Because I can't, if I skip these steps, then this is trying to show me or give me everything that I need to handle what's next, right? Because you can't move on to that next chapter of your life until you handle what you need to handle in this chapter.
Right.
This chapter is going to teach you for the next chapter, right? So I go back to Montclair and I start taking this class with a professor, Professor McCarthy. He's my favorite professor growing up at Montclair. Best professor I ever had at Montclair. And it was a coaching course, intro to coaching, whatever. And I started taking this course, and for some reason, every single time he had a question, I knew the answer. But it wasn't like I studied or I did anything. It was just like natural. So he would ask a question, the class would stay quiet, and I'm like, no one's answering. I'll answer. Raise my hand. How do you know that? Oh, I don't know. I just thought about it. Oh, okay, that's good. At first, he was like, it's a fluke, right? Because he's getting every answer right. And then I got to the point where like he would ask questions and say, okay, anybody other than Steven. Right? I got to that point in class, and I'm like, all right, I'm really good at this, right? So he asked me one day, he puts me on the spot. He's like, you know all the answers to coaching. I know you're a good soccer player because I can tell just by the way you carry yourself. Why don't you play for Montclair State? So he kind of put me on the spot in front of the whole, it was like a class of like 30 students, maybe less. And he's like, tell me why. So I told him, I was like, I had a bad attitude. I got cut. I've been trying to get back on the team, but I just kept getting cut every time. I tried out, I think 4 times. And this was my senior year at this point. And I had tried out 3 or 4 times. I had gotten cut. And I never gave up on playing for Montclair. I always had the idea like, oh, one day I'm going to play for them again. One day I'm going to play for them again. And he's like, oh, so they're not giving you the opportunity? And I was like, something like that. So I get an email a week later from the athletic director from Montclair. And it's like, hey, Professor McCarthy spoke to us, and he told us that you've changed, that you're this amazing student. Professor McCarthy wrote an email on my behalf.
He vouched for you.
And apparently he wrote that I was like this great human, whatever, in the email. I never read it. And he told them to give me a tryout, that I was the person that they were missing on the team, and that I can help them win and all this stuff. And they agreed. And at the time, they were like, you're going to try it in the spring. And my idea of the spring was always like, they're never going to take me in the spring because they have the whole entire summer to go find players just like me or better, right? And even if those players are not better, they're going to tell themselves that they are better. Like, oh, no, we're going to take this player because he's younger and we can, whatever the case is.
They're just going to give you a tryout and be like, I already know. You're going to give me a tryout and not even pick
So
me up.
I was super against going into the spring. But it just so happened, God's work, that I was injured at the time when I got that email, and I was like, I can't try out. I had a sprained MCL. I was like, I can't. So they're like, all right, we'll see what we can do. Get an email later on. They're like, come to my office. So I go to the office, and they're like, we're gonna give you a tryout. Give us every reason not to cut you. That's what they said to me. Give us every reason not to cut you.
Right.
Which, in other words, they were looking for every reason to cut me, right?
Yeah.
So, at this point, I had already that mentality was out the window, in the sense of like that bad attitude. Like regardless of whether they cut me or not, I wasn't even worried about it. I knew that I was ready for whatever it was. So He tells me, we're going to bring you into preseason. I was like, I'll be ready. We shake hands, and he's like, oh, before you leave, grades came out today for the semester. What is your GPA looking like, right? Hoping that, I don't think he was hoping that I did bad, but just he was going off the past Stevie that he had met, right?
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I didn't even check. You want to check for me? I had checked. He checks the email. It's a 4.0 GPA, right? And I'm like, he's like, wow, you got a 4.0. I was like, yeah, wow, that's great. Meanwhile, I already knew I had a 4.0. And I was like, oh, and did you check the one from last semester? I got a 4.0 there too. He was like, really? He goes back, checks. He's like, wow, like.
And you guys cut me every time.
Yeah, so I think at that point he was like, all right, this guy's serious. That summer I ended up going to Argentina for a couple months to play soccer, for a month to play soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Came back straight into preseason, was flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kept me, right?
Oh, there you go.
But then it went back. It's funny. They kept me, but then it went backwards again. So they kept me, and they wouldn't start me. They would bring me off the bench every time. So the first game of our season, that season, I played 42 seconds as a senior.
42 seconds.
42 seconds.
What would constitute them pulling you out right then and there? Is it like a timeout? I'm not familiar. Like,
so the game went
happens.
on,
Yeah.
and they played me the last 42 seconds of the game.
What'd you show them?
So I went in. No, I went in, and for 42 seconds I sprinted the whole field. Wherever the ball was, I was there, somewhere near.
Yeah.
Like, they would play long, I was sprinting towards it. They would play short, I was sprinting towards it. They would for 42 seconds, I ran as hard as I could.
And what was their feedback, if any?
None. We lost the game 1-0. We went into the locker room. The captain went off on everybody. And then the second game of the season, I played a little bit more, but they still wouldn't start me. Third game of the season, played a little bit more, still wouldn't start me. And then it became a thing where the players on the team would start making jokes like, put in the super sub.
That's what their nickname for you was.
Because when I would go in, you can just feel different energy.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a different feeling. I'm a person, and this is something that I wanted to say for the first part about describing myself and who I am. I'm a person that brings positive energy anywhere I go. Like, anywhere I go, people are like, Stevie, you're so positive. You're always trying to, it's always good to be around you. And I'm like, it's good energy. You can't see it, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
Right? So when I would go into the game, you can feel it. Everybody would be like, all right, Stevie's in the game. Like, he's gonna work hard. So we have to work hard. Right? And I'm a senior at this point, so there's like sophomores and juniors on the team that are really good players who are like, well, if he's a good player and he's working hard, then I have to work hard. And then we played Rutgers Camden at home, if I'm not mistaken. We were down 1-0. I go in, we tie 1-1 off my assist. I get the ball top of the box, hit the post, get a corner, score 2-1. Now we're like winning the game. Got subbed on. And every time I'd come on, it was that energy. And then it came to the point where it's something that Josel always says, be undeniable. Yeah. Right? Be so good that they have to play you.
Yeah.
And then it came to the point where the same people who didn't want me on the team were asking me for advice on how we should play. Right? It was the craziest thing to see, because I remember we're playing Rowan at home now, the same team that I didn't play a minute against. Playing Rowan at home. Coach calls me over to the side and goes, who should we put in to play next to you?
That was the same coach.
Same coach.
From earlier in the career. First time. Okay.
Who should we put in to play next to you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think we need this player, whatever. Give him my opinion. And every person that I asked for, they went in. Right? So now it's to the point where, like, I'm almost the captain without the captain, without being the captain. We had two captains on the team, and we're in the circle, and I'm the one that's talking. Right? And it's like, it was a change, because before it was like they didn't want me there, and then after, it's like not that they need me, because you don't need anybody. You can win without certain players. But it was almost like I was like the heart of the team. Right? Fast forward, season's going all right. We get to the playoffs, and we're on the road because we didn't win enough games to be home. Play the first game, Rutgers Camden away. Beat them 4-2. I had 2 assists in that game. Next game, we play Rutgers Newark at Newark. First half, was probably the worst half of football I've ever played in my whole entire life. It was awful.
Why?
I couldn't connect the pass.
Mm.
And the game before, I was doing so well that this game I wanted to attack. I wanted to show that I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing too much, I wasn't doing a lot. Right? I was trying to do more than what my job was required of. So we go into halftime, and Max Wardsberger, which was the assistant at the time who I had played with as well, he comes and he's like, all right, boys, a little bit of a change. So he starts the lineup, and when he goes to the position where I was playing, he names 2 other people. And I'm like, damn, it's going to happen again. I can't let it happen. He goes on to say the lineup, and he puts me in a different position. He puts me left winger. And I'm like, all right, there's a little bit of, I've played here before, right? 1 minute into the second half, right? We bring the team in. I'm like, we got to win this game, whatever, 0-0. 1 minute into the second half, my best friend Mike gets the ball top of the box, plays me wide, and I finish first time 1-0. And we're going crazy. Like, we're about to go into the final.
Yeah.
We're going crazy. 2 minutes later, the same player that assisted gets a red card. So now we're down a player. So it's 10 against 11. I go over to my boy Lucas, and I'm like, we can't lose to these young kids. Like, there's a bunch of young kids on the team. We can't lose to them. We're super seniors, both of us. Like, we got to dominate.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes later, maybe 10 minutes later, I get the ball down the line, cross it to him. He scores. Now we're up 2-0. Funny thing, game ends 2-0, but there's 2 more red cards in that game. One to our top goal scorer, who scored 28 goals that year, Lucas Terci, his younger brother, Rafi, and my friend Mike. So 3 of our starting 6 or 7 seniors, crucial to the lineup, can't play in the final.
Red card. What does that mean, the red card?
So a red card means you're ejected from the game.
For what?
For a bad foul, 2 yellow cards, disciplinary, like if you curse out the ref, if you foul somebody badly, like you try to hurt them, violent conduct, you can say.
Okay.
So now they can't play the final. And this is kind of one of those moments where you say things, but you almost don't know why you're saying it, right? You just believe it so much. So after the game, I went out through a different door, right? So we are celebrating on the field. Everybody's exiting through one door, and I go out through the back door because my parents were there. So everybody leaves to the front door. I go to the back door. I say hello to my parents, whatever. When I get on the bus, so I say hello to them. They're like congratulating me. I run over to the bus. When I get on the bus, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was so scared to play that final. They're like, no Lucas. Lucas is a 3-time All-American. 28 goals his senior year. No Lucas in the final. No Mike. He's a captain.
So that means they're out.
They're out. They're done.
Like this season.
This last game depends on the rest of our season. We have to win this this is the final. Like, there's no more games after that.
So the red card means they're out the next game.
Yes.
And out of that current game.
Out of that current game and the following one.
But if it happened earlier in the season, they're out just for the next game? Or?
Exactly.
Okay, and then
they can go back into the season. It just so happened that they were done for the season because it was the second to last game of the season. So now we're going to play Rowan at Rowan, which is there. So if anybody has ever gone to Rowan, there's nothing to do at Rowan but whatever the main event of that day is, and people everyone goes to that whatever that event is.
Yeah.
So I get onto the bus and I'm looking around, and we're looking at all these young players who are gonna have to play in the final now because 3 of our best players who are probably gonna play most of the minutes are not playing. And I'm like looking at them eye to eye, and they're all like,
we don't got it.
They're like, whoa, like we're not. And I was like, I literally get in the back of the bus. I stand up and I was like, if you guys don't believe in yourselves, believe in me. I don't know where I got that from. Yeah. And I just kept saying it. If you guys don't believe in yourselves, believe in me. If you guys don't believe in yourselves, believe in me. If you guys don't want to do it yourselves, don't worry. Getting my I used to have carry a red book bag. Get in my red book bag. I'll carry you guys. And it became I was saying it as a joke at the moment. Yeah. But then it became something that I just kept saying, like, don't worry, if you guys don't believe in yourselves, believe in me. We're gonna win the final. Yeah. And I just kept saying it over and over and over and over and over. And then I would say things like, Rowan thinks that, like, no Lucas, no Mike, no Rafi. It's all right. We're gonna catch him off guard. Yeah. Fast forward to the day of the final. We show up to the final with 20 minutes left before kickoff. So it was traffic on the way. Mm-hmm. We left at 5. The final was at 8. We got there at 7:30. So we had a 30-minute warm up, and everybody in the locker room, like, it was, you could hear a pin drop. Coach is saying the lineup, whatever it is. Everybody's like just quiet. We get to the field. We do a circle, and I'm like, Rowan thinks they won this game already.
Mm-hmm.
We're missing our 3 best players. We're away from home. There's like 5,000 people in the stands, all wearing yellow and brown.
Mm-hmm.
We have like, Montclair has like a little section in the corner. And we literally walked through their warm up 15 or 20 minutes before the game. Like, they think they won this game.
Mm-hmm.
First play of the game, we're combining, ball goes wide out to me. I take a touch, I cross it, 1-0. And the place is quiet. You can't hear anything but the fans of Montclair and our team yelling.
Did you do one of these? Like,
no, you know what I did? I turned around, and I was so close to to our bench that they were all like ready, and I just ran and like jumped into like a crowd, and that was kind of it. And then we ended up dominating the game.
mm-hmm.
I don't know what, like, our freshmen that game, I don't know if they respected me a lot or what it was, or if they really believed in what I had to say.
Yeah.
But they played their hearts out.
You fired them up with that simple, if you guys don't believe in yourself, believe in me.
You want to know? You want to know something funny about you saying that? So those guys were all freshmen for the next 3 years until their senior year. They would make me send them videos. This is true. I can show you on my phone, Snapchat videos of me giving them motivational speeches before games.
Hell yeah.
So it was like they actually believed in what I had to say.
Right.
But in the moment, I was just saying it to, like, I want to win this game, and I need them to believe that we can win this game.
Right.
So we go on, we win the game, and while I'm on the field, I go over to the athletic director and I thank him. I say, thank you very much for allowing me to try out. I really appreciate what you did for me, and I understand that at the time that you guys cut me, you had to do it. Like, there's no hard feelings. I went over to the coach, said the same thing, and then he said something to me that I wasn't expecting, right? So I say that to him. He's like, Zamudio, I want to tell you something. I was wrong about you, and I wish I would have listened to the people that spoke about you earlier on, because you were a huge part of this team.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, right, you shrug it off. You're like, thanks, coach, I appreciate that. And then you sit in the car after the game, right? You're celebrating with your friends, but those words, even though you can say you care or you don't care what people say, but coming from somebody who cut you so many times, it means something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was, in that moment, you can choose to do 2 things. You can be like, screw this guy, who cares? Or you can be like, all right, take it for what it is, right? And till this day, it's funny, till this day, my mom doesn't really like him, right? Like, anytime he's mentioned how, she's like, I don't like him. And I'm like, no, I like him. He taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me one of the most important lessons of life is, like, you can't just be good in one aspect of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be a good soccer player. Got to be a good person. Got to be a good husband. Well, I'm not a husband, but a good boyfriend, a good coach, a good everything.
You have to have a good character, yeah.
Yeah, every aspect of your life matters. If one aspect, you can't just say, oh, I'm really good at this, but what about this? If you're one of the quotes that, tell me how you do everything. What is it? Tell me how you do. Show me
How you do anything is how you do everything.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
So, like, in all that's something in all aspects of your life, right? And I think that fire that he started
Mm-hmm.
was insanely engulfed by a lot of different things. It was insanely fueled by a lot of different things.
So how did
That
you
fire.
carry that after your college? Now you're in the real world, and now you have to decide, do I keep pursuing my dream or do I, go get whatever kind of job? Like, what was going? Put me through that process.
So at this point, so that happened. Right, I get my degree, I graduate, and obviously now comes a question. Now
So you
what?
guys are the champions.
Yeah, so we're the
finals.
champions. We ended up winning the NJAC, the only team to ever win the NJAC with all road games. So we played the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and the final on the road and won all 3. It was the first NJAC team to do that.
Damn.
So that was a cool experience in that sense. And then now it's the real world, and you graduate, and it's like, okay, now how do I make money? right? Because school doesn't teach you how to make money; they teach you how to be a worker,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Um, so at this point, fast forward maybe a couple months, I start training with Giselle now, a lot, right? That process happens. Start training with Giselle a lot. Still don't know how I'm gonna figure it out, but now I'm in the room with professionals all the time, right? I'm in the room with Giselle, I'm in the room with Eric, and at this other facility where I would go train, which is called AP2T, there's only pros there. So when I would go play there, I was the only person without a contract. So I would play those. I would tell Giselle I play those games like the World Cup,
Mm-hmm.
like my life depended on it. And sometimes I'm not afraid to say it, I wasn't at the level, right? Like these guys are top players. Sometimes you're just not at the level. Like you gotta train to get there. But one thing that I would never do is I would never stop working hard.
Right.
So like maybe my touch was bad or I lost the ball, but I would run, chase it down, defend. I would realize that maybe sometimes you're not gonna always be at the level. Maybe there's gonna be off days. Maybe there's gonna be days where you're just on fire and you can't be touched. And there's gonna be days that it's not like that. But you gotta work hard. You gotta now that mentality that I had in college that helped me get back onto the team. Now it's just natural, right? It's just coming. It's just firing on its own. Um, so I'm in the room with these guys, right? I'm training with them. I'm playing against them. I'm seeing their level, and right, it's easy for your mind to be like, I'm that good. Like maybe not as good, but I can play. If these guys can play at that level, I can play at that level. I can find my niche, right? I can find my position. I can find what I do well that a team may be looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm training 3-4 years, not months, years, right?
So what year did you, or how old were you when you graduated?
I graduated when I was 22.
And then 5 years later, you signed
Yeah,
the first one, right? Yeah.
So I was training for 3 years with no, I mean, I was making no money. I was just coaching. So I would train in the morning as many hours as I can, go coach or whatever side hustle I had, and then go train with Giselle or vice versa. Go to the gym first, and then go to AP2T and then work. But I would train twice a day, every day, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like Giselle would have to be like, no training today, because I was just pedal to the metal all the time. So fast forward 2-3 years training, playing on different teams, playing USL, playing MPSL, playing wherever I can get time. Right, I didn't really care where I was playing. I cared more about the level. Like I wanted it to be high level, obviously, because I wanted to make sure that I was on a team that was training
Right.
all the time. And then COVID hit, and that was kind of where everything just kind of took off. COVID hit, but me and Giselle found a way to always train, no matter what. Lock the door, put the blinds down, and train. And at first people like you would see people walking by and like just looking inside, and we'd be like, whatever, we're gonna train. And we were just training consistently, and then I started playing for a team called SEFT, School of Elite Football Training. They during COVID they kind of made a men's team because no one had anywhere to play, so we made a group chat of players, all I would say maybe like 20 to 30 players, best players in Jersey, right, or in the area, right, in the northern area, and we would send out different locations. So for example, we're gonna train tomorrow at Kane University. We would go train at Kane University. Sometimes when we were about to finish the session, the cops would come by. Hey, you guys can't be on the field. Oh, okay, don't worry, we're getting off now. We'd get off. All right, tomorrow, North Bergen. Boom, everybody goes to North Bergen. We train. Cops would come. Okay, don't worry. Next time, Passaic. Like we would just bounce from field to field to field. And then once we hadn't been at a field for like a week or two, boom, back to that field. Train. Cops would come, bounce to another field. This is going out all throughout COVID.
Yeah.
So we're training. I'm still going to AP2T. I'm still training with Giselle. And then Maddie Nigro, which is my trainer at AP2T, one day he asked me, he's like, would you ever go to Costa Rica? Yeah, why not? He's like, I have my ex-coach from, who was his coach in Finland. Finland? Iceland. Sorry, Iceland. He had been his coach in Iceland. Excuse me. Um, he's opening up a development center for players like yourself who are trying to go pro and break into the game. So I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone with this guy Joe. We talk for a little while. He's watching my highlight tape. He really likes me as a player, so on and so forth. I go out to Costa Rica. This is like right after COVID. I go out to Costa Rica. I'm there for 6 months, maybe less, maybe like 3 months, 3 4 months. And while I'm there, we're playing against the best teams in Costa Rica. I'm talking about like the teams that play against MLS teams, and we're playing against their reserves teams. We're playing against their first team, and I would obviously have conversation with Josel because it's almost like you can't believe it. I was dominating games. Like the other coach of the team was telling our coach, like, if you don't get this player signed, you don't know about soccer. Like they would tell him that about me.
Yeah, you were better than everybody there.
Yes, because I was playing. I was one of the things was I was playing a different position that I had played my whole entire life. So I would normally play on the wing, where in which is a more athletic position where you have to be quick, you have to be fast, you have to be a little bit stronger, you have to take players on all the time, right? And they moved me to like a midfielder position where I was kind of on the ball all the time, making all the decisions, right? Creating the tempo of the game.
Kind of like a quarterback. I'm trying to like relate it to like what you would understand.
Yeah, I'm thinking quarterback.
A quarterback.
Yeah.
Like the ball always runs through him. Like he
Yeah.
dictates how we're moving.
In baseball, that would sounds like a shortstop a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's the main guy without being the main guy, right? So it's like the guy that gets the ball before your superstar gets it and does whatever superstars do, you know? But Maddie helped me change my position. He was like, why don't you try playing a little bit more of the 8-10 role instead of the winger where you don't have to take players on all the time? Because I would always struggle with 1v1 attacking. Like I would beat players and then, or maybe I wasn't, let me take that back. I wasn't as good at beating players as I was getting around players, right? So if I can beat a player, I can go at him, do 500 skill moves and dribble by him, right? Or I can use her to bounce the ball for her. The defender goes there, she passes back, and I have 10 yards of space. So now I'm beating him with my brain as opposed to beating him with my ability. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Because I feel like, I think when you got older, this usually happens to like a lot of people. Like people catch up to your physicality. So if you're not like absolutely rapid and you have the acceleration, you can still beat somebody, but they'll still get you. But he's saying, I'll move the ball to make space for myself, or I'll move 5 yards because you're not looking, and now I have 10 yards because you didn't pay attention.
Point guard.
Yeah.
Point guard in basketball.
Yeah, exactly. So, he kind of gave that, and you know it's kind of funny, right? Because at first you're like, well, I've been doing this like this my whole life. Why would I change my position, right? Like it's I want to play left wing where I've been playing my whole life, but it's like that ego thing. Like, dude, put your ego to the side. This person played at a high level. They're watching you. You're not watching yourself, right? They're watching you.
They see you. Yeah.
They see you. They're giving you their honest opinion.
Yeah.
So I started changing my position. Started playing more in the middle. Started focusing on more center mid specific things, right? Go to Costa Rica. This guy, his name is Joe Funicello. He actually just signed with a team in Romania as their head coach. We just kind of hit it off because we were both soccer freaks, I want to say, like obsessive about the game, like every aspect, coaching, playing, movement, why you're moving, why we're going this way, why are you doing that, right? It's like an obsession. To me, it's chess. Every single move counts. You're playing on one side of the board, but the killer move is coming on the other side. So it's kind of like that. And we would just bounce. We would just talk all the time, me and this guy, Joe. And fast forward maybe a couple months, he reaches out. He's like, hey, I'm gonna buy a professional team in Costa Rica. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He's like, and I want you to be my first signing. Really? Like,
buy a team?
Wait, so you went there and then you came back and then you went and then you came back and then you went and then you signed. So like, tell us that.
So I went there, played against all the best teams in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And that was probably the best. I played in one of some of the most beautiful stadiums when I was there, and then some also rundown stadiums. So those are things that people don't talk about. Like you think that when you sign, you're gonna play in perfect grass.
But they were all in the same league.
So all these teams are all in the same league in Costa Rica. Exactly. So
Gotcha.
it's like a Costa Rican league, the Costa Rican Federation. They have their own league, kind of like we have. Sorry, kind of like how we have the MLS. They have the Costa Rican league.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we were scrimmaging against these teams because the team that we were on was like an all-star team, you can say. You pick the best players and then you go and play against these teams, and now as you're playing them, they're looking at your players, right? Or I like Josel, he's a good player, I need a right back, bring him in for trial. So they would pick players from our team, right?
Mhm.
And take them on trial. And every time I got picked, they were like, he's too old. Because I was at
How old were you?
26 at the time. So they're trying to look for players between the age of 18 and 23 because they're easy to sell.
Right.
You have them for 2 years, you sell them to the MLS, make money, right? And if a country like Costa Rica, when they sell those players, it's a lot of money to them, right? You sell a player for $50,000, like, yes, it's a lot of money, but you're also, for them, it's even more,
Yeah.
right? So that's their goal: buy cheap, develop, sell expensive.
So high, yeah.
So we played a team called Deportivo Alejuense, which is the best team in Costa Rica. They have state-of-the-art facilities, whatever. We get to the game. We were at the hotel the night before. Coach says the starting lineup. He's like, we're playing against the biggest team in Costa Rica, whatever. So I'm a bit nervous before the game. Game starts. First couple minutes were shaky. And I was like, but what does it matter? That's what I said to myself. What does it matter if you play bad? Just play.
Yeah.
And then it just took off. I was dominating the game left and right, forward and back. I was on every play, dominating and on all levels. Game ends. Coach from the other team comes over, asks about me. He's like, that player, he's really good. We want to take a look at him. This, that, the other. How old is he? 28. Pro team, right?
Right.
To the all-star team, you can say.
Mhm.
And I would always transmit the message like, we need to press here. He would tell me, Stevie, we want to press when the ball goes backwards, or when the ball, let the center backs have it, and when the ball goes wide, that's when we'll press. Right? So if you're standing on the field and you don't, obviously your coach is yelling, right? But if you hear your teammates say, when the ball goes out wide, go, press. Now everybody knows, okay, we're all going. As opposed to the coach, from the coach sideline saying, press. And everybody's like, but where? Right? Because some players don't have the same IQ that other players have.
Right.
So if I tell this person press and they just run, and somebody makes a pass, now we're defending with one less player. So it's 11 against 10 now.
Yeah.
So it's important to know how to do certain things,
How
right?
to cue people, yeah.
Exactly. So I always knew how to talk to people on the field, like how to get certain people to do certain things. So I was always that voice. So he made me and another Costa Rican co-captains, right? But the other Costa Rican would wear the armband, which is okay. I kind of like that better because I knew that referees, when they hear my accent, they would know I wasn't Costa Rican, right? So they would know that, okay, this guy's not from here, while Josel, who's wearing the captain's band for the other team, is from here. I'm gonna, regardless of whether they're helping them or not, they're one of their people, and I'm not one of their people, right?
Why is that? What's the you're saying accent, like Spanish to me?
So Costa Ricans, I would say almost every single Hispanic country has their own accent, right? I would say like Argentinians have their own, like even the words are different. The meaning of words are different too.
Eric, you're El Salvadorian and Guatemalan. What does that Spanish sound like?
Excuse me, sorry.
Even Salvadoran and Guatemalan, a big difference in their Spanish too. Like, even that, like, and their neighbors, that's a huge difference. So yeah, like he said, like there are specific words that Salvadorians use.
Say that in
that's
Spanish
like
now.
a curse word to other countries, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Brazilian Portuguese. Portuguese.
Like in Costa Rica, they say no mae. Like mae is like bro. So like I would never say that to my teammate, right?
No my.
No mae. Like it's MAJ E.
What
Maje.
would that sound like in Colombian?
We don't use that word. We don't use the word maje.
What would you use?
Parce, or we don't even have a because it's like they
Is
say
that like a negative connotation? Or
No,
It's
it's
like
not.
just
It's
it's just like
nah,
bro.
bro.
Nah, bro.
Like nah, bro.
Or
nah.
I could say si maje.
Sí, maje.
Maje, no maje. Claro, maje. Vas a ir a comer, maje. Like, are you gonna go eat? But it's like now, Salvadorians also use maje too. So in Costa Rica, in El Salvador, it's maje, Maje.
Mm-hmm.
In Costa Rica, it's more mae, like Mae. They almost skip out on the J, so it's like mae, no mae. But it's like it's different, right? So we don't. When I would speak, right, they can tell like, oh, you're not from here, off the
they
bat.
tell.
So if I'm talking to a ref and I'm like, whatever it is, ref, that's not a foul, and the other guy's like, ref, that's a foul, but he's saying it in his accent, like, right, so he can relate to that ref. I
Mhm.
can't relate in the same way.
So they would have a prejudice towards you because you're not Costa Rican.
I mean, it's
really?
normal. They had a prejudice
Wow.
towards our team in general because we had our coach was Italian.
Italian,
Some of the players on our team were American.
and you're Colombian.
I'm Colombian. So
Interesting.
it's just, I mean, it actually in the pros you're not. So if let's say Brazil, just for example, Brazil's playing Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
you can't have a Brazilian or a Portuguese ref. The ref has to be American, for example, or
Oh, wow.
Colombian.
Is it? Would you say be corrupt or
It would be
easily
corrupt,
swayed?
100%, 100%.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, it would be, because think about it. You at that point you're represent as a ref, right? Let's say you call something against you're Portuguese. You call something against Portugal,
Oh, you're in trouble,
or
right?
or what if you call it for it? You're still in trouble because the other team is like, well, you're Portuguese.
because he's Portuguese. Yeah, you got to find neutral.
Exactly.
You get a
Neutral grounds.
German out there,
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they do. They just get random people.
but then they can't communicate to them because
English
they
is
don't
the
speak their
national
language.
language, so
So they have to.
as a captain, you have to speak English.
Oh.
As a captain of a national team, you have to be able to speak English because the language for teams and the ref and the
would be English.
it has to be.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing in your country. So like in Spain they speak Spanish to the ref. In I don't know, Germany they speak German to the ref. But if you're playing an international game where it's like you're representing your country, you have to speak English to the referee.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's crazy because that's the default. Yeah.
Yeah.
USA. Not even. It's like the UK, British.
Yeah. But so going back to that, so I'm living there and I'm living my dream and people are like, yeah, you know, this guy's living the dream like this at the end. And I'm like, you guys don't even know. But
Mhm.
I'm not gonna tell you because you guys wouldn't even understand. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Um
Well, they'll know now.
yeah. No, now
When
they
they
will.
hear the podcast.
Yeah. The cool thing about it too is like I wasn't making a lot of money, and sometimes, right? So the money that you're making is set out to be spent on what you need to survive and live there, right? But sometimes, like, let's say the food ran out a couple of days early because you got hungry. You had 3 games in a week or 2
Mhm.
games in a week, right? You had to recover those calories, so you had to eat a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sometimes the food will run out and you gotta wait for payday, right?
Oh,
you don't-
because you lived per paycheck.
Yeah.
or-
So I didn't. My goal when I went to Costa Rica was not to waste any of the money that I had saved here.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to live off the money that I was making there because
Okay.
I wanted to live like a pro. Like if I didn't have this money back here, I would be survive. Like it would be between what's the word that I'm looking for? Like life and death, you can say, right? I wanted to live just off what I was making so I can see what it was to be a pro. Like you have to work for that money
Mhm.
to be able to live.
Can I survive off this lifestyle?
Exactly.
So
So
and then you had to pay for food.
so they with the money that I was given, they covered my housing.
Okay.
I had to pay for food, and they covered my travel as well. Like the bus would pick us up and stuff, and going to
Mhm.
training, all that stuff. They would cover that, and they would do our laundry as well and stuff like that. As far as team stuff, I would have to do my own laundry for my clothes.
Would they cook your food or?
No,
were-
we had so I had never cooked before I went to Costa Rica. I would call her and be like, "Hey, I'm trying to make potatoes. How do I do it?" She's like, "All right, you're gonna start with a pot. You're gonna put water in it. You're gonna put some oil. You're gonna wait a little bit, and then once it's ready, you're gonna put it." Now we'd be on FaceTime, and I'm like, "Is it ready?" With like the phone upside down. I can stick a fork through it.
Yeah. See if it's done. Yeah. Stick a fork in it.
So
It's done, yeah.
that was one of the biggest things for me, learning how to cook for myself, right?
Yeah.
So, so sometimes the food will run out, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go into my savings. There's no
No.
way I'm not doing it. So
Yeah.
what would I do? I would take a loan out from Nancy. babe, loan me money until I get paid.
Oh, wire transfer.
Yeah.
And all that.
Because I didn't
Well-
want to take it out from my savings.
Well-
I was totally against it because I knew if she paid me,
Okay.
I had to pay her back.
Yeah.
Right? When you take money out of your savings, most of the time you're like, it's my
You're not
own
gonna pay
money.
yourself back. Yeah.
So I knew I had to pay her back. So that's how I kept myself on check. Like, I need to pay her back.
What was the vig on that, Nancy?
I was down. I've always supported him. I mean, I'm a big believer in like everybody like going for their passion and just I feel like he didn't have the answers. I didn't have the answers for my own self or for him. So
Mhm.
I could, and it wasn't like he was asking me for crazy amounts of money. It was like very little
Yeah.
money, anyways. So I was like, yeah, like whatever you need. Like if I can help you in that way, I'm down.
I would ask her for $100. So it's not like a lot of money, but it's weird asking your significant other, right? Especially when you're the male asking the female, right?
Yeah. And
Because you're
out
chasing a
there.
dream,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
So
I
you're
think-
hungry in the jungle, captain of the team, asking your girl for money, and you're a pro. So this is like what people. This is Costa Rica. So
Yeah.
imagine
People
like what
don't
other
see that.
what
Yeah.
other countries are like, or even like what it is like here. Like these are the things that aren't glamorous.
and I think here we make it out to seem like I mean every sport is this glamorous thing, right? And
Yeah,
it's
social media shit.
Yeah.
and it's not.
It really is.
It's actually so far from it,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's comparable to like, oh, you own a gym, but they don't see the other stuff. So like that's I'm not gonna go into it, but like it's
It's
yeah.
not glamorous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is all going on, and I'm happy as can be, right? Every day I would wake up, I would send her, I don't know, paragraphs saying I'm so happy to be here, thank God, like all these things, and having faith and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple months, she comes out to visit, and she's like, okay, let's go to your house. And I'm like, all right. So we rented a motorcycle, right? We go to my house, and she's like, this is where you live? And I'm like, yeah, I told you, it's in the middle of the jungle. We're like, we're riding our motorcycle. We look over to the right, it's like cows, just field,
Yeah.
dirt everywhere. And I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, like, if she wanted to, how can I say it? She definitely wasn't with me for the money at that time. I'll tell you that.
That's good.
That's where I knew it was like true love. We're like riding this little motorcycle with a carton of eggs, in the back, and we're so happy.
Living the dream.
We're in Costa Rica riding a little moped.
Hell yeah.
And then my parents came, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Costa Rica, where I was living, it's called Limon. It's like cartel central.
So, drug trafficking, all that stuff.
So Costa Rica,
everything, yeah.
Costa Rica's a red state. If you use your credit card or your debit card more than a couple of times in the day, they block it. 'Cause it's a red, not a red state, sorry, a red country. So so much drug trafficking goes through that the banks don't allow more than a certain amount
Certain
of money.
transactions, yeah.
So, so yeah, it's like huge. So my parents went there, right? And my stepdad is this guy who does his research on everything.
Mhm.
Did his research on Costa Rica, and he told my mom, he's like, he's living in a not in a war zone, but in a cartel zone owned place. And my mom was like, she was so scared, but she never told me, right? And she would, when I came back, she was like, why didn't you tell me you were living there? And I was like, because you would have gone crazy. Like, why did I need to tell you? Like, that was my dream. I
So
enjoyed
the
it.
cartel owned the team?
No.
Or that,
No.
just
They
that
just
property?
they just nothing would go on without their say.
Oh.
Yeah, not as far as the team,
Yeah.
as far as like
Yeah. The surroundings.
the
Yeah.
people who were there knew what was going on, like the people who lived there, right? But
Mhm.
the tourists didn't know. Like
Right.
to them, we were tourists, right? But then after we started living there, we were locals.
Mhm.
It was a very big tourist area. They didn't know.
Mhm.
They didn't know. It was super expensive as well. So, I mean, I'm sure they had an idea, but they didn't know. It wasn't like people were being killed or.
Yeah, no.
It was just like, this is our territory. We run it.
Don't mess around.
Don't mess around.
Yeah.
Which is fair, right?
Mhm.
No problem, right? We don't give you a problem. You don't give us a problem. We're good. And we were very well respected because we weren't there causing problems. Like we
Mhm.
weren't. Our team wasn't out. I mean, at least my house wasn't out there partying every night, right?
Mhm.
They weren't like in the streets like talking to somebody's girl,
Yeah.
right? Because that's usually how things happen, right? You go out, one guy starts talking to this guy's girl who's related to that person who's ba, and then you
And
know.
then you're dead.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But we didn't have those problems. So people really liked us, right? We didn't encounter that. Like when she came and I would walk through the town, they would say hello to me all the time, like, "Oh, Stevie, how are you?" Whatever, and never had any problems. Um, but yeah, so when my family came and they saw where I was living, they kind of like were like, "Whoa, like this is really your dream."
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you're living here when you can be back home, you know, own room at this point because I had moved in to a bigger place,
Yeah.
own room, your girlfriend can come visit you
Mm-hmm.
any time of the day, your friends, everything is better home. Why would you stay here?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I just didn't see any other way around it. I was like, this is what I want. I'm sorry. And I think that's something that made Nancy uh kind of want to not want to be with me more, but kind of made her like more attracted to me. It was like when we first met, I told her, I was like, hey, I've been chasing this dream ever since I was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and we just met, and I'm leaving to Costa Rica in I don't know how many months. I'm sorry, but I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And she respected it from the moment. She was like, yeah, of course, like, cool. It wasn't like, oh, you're gonna leave, like this is not gonna work out. It was more
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, there was moments where like she cried, and it was like sad for both of us, but
So how long you guys been together?
we were about to make 4 years.
Hey.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So we met each other and started dating right around the time where I was about to leave to Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 2 years of our relationship was kind of back and forth and long distance.
Mm-hmm.
But so that happened. Costa Rica was great. We fast forward to the end of the season, right? And to say the least, I wasn't as consistent as I could have been in games
In the season.
in the season.
Yeah.
It was a lot of ups and downs. I think living a completely different lifestyle that I was used to kind
Mhm.
of affected it, but that's an excuse, right? I can say that. I can just say that, right? So I don't make that. I'm not just trying to make that an excuse because I take it on myself. I could have made it better too.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of up and down. Like there was games where I was like super on, and then there was games where I was like just a regular player, right? And you can't be a regular player when you're being paid.
Yeah.
You have to be the guy.
They'd pull you aside and say something to you.
Oh, I mean, with all, yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Like it was the thing that I liked a lot about Joe. He was like straightforward.
Yeah.
It's like you're not doing your job. I can find somebody off the street that I don't have to pay to do your job. And I'm like, you're right.
Don't have to pay. Dang.
That's what you're fighting against,
That's
right?
direct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're fighting against. Like
Yeah.
these kids are also looking for the same chance that you're getting. They want to live in the house that you're living
They have a roof over their head. They get to do something.
because because back
purpose.
home where they live is a lot worse, right? Like
Mhm.
so I look at it as okay, I'm in right on the spot, too old.
28. Old.
Oh, sorry, I was 20.
20.
Sorry, so I was 26 at the time.
26.
Too old. So they're, but it's normal, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm used to. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's the game. Come back home, still keep training.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, which was the coach of the club, tells me he's gonna buy a team in Costa Rica, right, and turn it into a pro team. So he tells me he wants me to be his first signing. So I go back. I go back to the training center about 6 months later, maybe a little bit less. Go back to the training center. We're still playing teams around Costa Rica as he prepares to buy the team. So at this point, he's looking at the players that he has in his program to potentially sign for his team
Yeah.
that he's about to buy.
Yeah.
I go back out, and then I'm doing well again. Like it's just everything was just lining up. I'm playing well. We're in warm weather, so my body feels amazing all the time.
Mhm.
Beach is right across the street. Even though I didn't use it as much, just the ability of having it there and knowing the feeling that it's there just makes everything different.
Mhm.
So I'm playing so well. He calls me into his office or house or whatever. I go over and he's like, "We made the decision to sign you." Right? And it was so funny because that day Nancy, which is here right now. Can we get her little camera view?
Shout out Nancy.
Shout out Nancy.
Who is my girlfriend? She had gone to my house to see my mom and my dad, and she had brought them like pastries or whatever. So they were all together at the same time that I'm in Costa Rica having a conversation with Coach Joe that he's about to sign me. Right. So it just so happened for her to be at my house and for me to be about to get this contract. So I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. I didn't even look at the contract, to be honest.
Like dollar amount.
I agreed on the spot without
Just
even
as
looking
your
at it.
dream, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm in. They're like, wait, but you don't want to look at. Where are you gonna? It's all right. I'm in.
I'd advise against that.
I'm in.
Like, dude, read it first, please. Don't get Scottie Pippen.
I'm in. And they were like, okay, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm in. Did you send me the? I want it. Can you guys send it to me so I can send my girlfriend and my parents a pictures of what I said to them?
So you signed.
So I didn't. It was They obviously didn't let me just say yes. They wanted me to look over it, but I said yes on the spot. Like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then we made a joke out of it. And then they gave me the contract. So I FaceTimed her, and we're like talking, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I don't know, like, what happened? Like, your FaceTime, like, because she was with my parents, obviously. So I'm like calling out of nowhere when I know she's with my parents, right? So I call her. She's like, "We're having a conversation." I was like, "Guess what?" And my parents are on the phone with her, and I was like, they just offered me my first contract ever. But I was like so calm at the moment, like I don't think I believed it yet.
Yeah.
And she's like, no way, whatever. And it's crazy because they were all together. And then they're like, you can go home for a little bit and then come back and we'll have your house for you. This is where you're going to live, whatever, all the stuff. So we were living in like a hotel resort suite thing, right? But when we moved from there, we moved into the jungle. I came home.
A jungle.
Yeah, literally the jungle. So I came. She's laughing because she went to visit. I came back for break a couple of weeks. I go back, and before we went back, we had to move all of our stuff. So like our beds, all the stuff that we were gonna have in the apartment, to the apartment. So we put all our stuff on the bus, and our coach at the time, Joe, he's a very like get it done kind of guy, right? He believes that he believes in football at all costs. So he doesn't care if he has to sleep on the field to make it to practice on time. He'll do it. He's that kind of person, right? So he's like, "Oh, we're moving down the block," and we're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So we could put our stuff on the bus. We get on the bus and like we're driving. It's like 1 block, 2 blocks, 10 blocks, 15 blocks. Bus driver. We were on a bus, like on a huge bus. Bus driver makes a left. We just start going up the mountain, and we're like, "Where are we going?" It's me. So it was me, another kid that had gotten signed, and 2 other kids who were Costa Rican, who were also gonna be living at the house with us. And we're like, where are we going? So we go up. It was a 3-mile walk from our house to the road that we had to be at 5 a.m. for training. So every single day I had to walk. So I come back home. I go back there. We get there the first day, and they're like, training tomorrow is at 5:30 a.m. You have to be at the bus stop at 5, but you have to walk to the bus stop.
From the house to the road, yeah. Because
so
it's 3 miles.
3 miles. So it's a jungle. It's a dirt road. It's a dirt road filled with rocks.
Yeah.
And we have to walk 3 miles I would leave the house at 4:30, 4:20 in the morning.
You're not jogging that.
No, to be honest, it was actually a really terrible road for our like ankles and knees.
Yep.
Because we're like bouncing back and forth.
Dark.
And it's dark. It's like pitch dark. There's no light. It's pitch dark.
Yeah.
And we're all like with our book bags, walking out of nowhere. Rain. In the jungle, in the forest. Just rain. Just walking. You're like looking to your right, and your teammates are like pissed. Yeah. Right? And I'm like happy as can be.
It's like, yeah,
like this is the dream.
Yeah.
I would text Josel and be like, I'm living the dream. He's like, how? I'm like, picture middle of the rainforest, just walking 4 a.m.
Yeah.
To go train.
Yeah.
And to me the first day was horrible. I hated it. But then after that I was like, this is the dream. When all this is said and done, I'm gonna be able to say I walk in the jungle at 4 a.m. to go to training.
This is what you not
This-
what you wanted, but led you to. Yeah,
This
the
is
pros,
that's
yeah.
that, a lot of people are like, oh, it's beautiful, like you're gonna make all this money and all this. And the dream is the bad part of getting to where you're gonna go. That is the dream, like the, not, and you think of it as bad, but like the hard part,
The
right?
process.
The process, the
Yeah.
adversity. That is the dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? You think that the dream is like celebrating a goal or like winning a championship, or no, it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's all the things that you have to go through to get to that point,
Yeah.
right? So I'm walking, and my friends back here, I would get messages like, "Yo, we're so happy that you signed pro, like this, that, the other. You're living the dream." It's like you guys don't even know. And I mean, this is gonna sound kind of messed up, but I wouldn't even tell them because they wouldn't understand.
That you're living your dream
That
with going.
No,
through
how
those-
shitty it is. Like they don't realize like, oh, this life looks so cool on social media. You sign the contract. Look at your highlights. Look at the team posting you. But like they don't see.
Everything in the
The
background.
next question I was gonna ask you like your living situation.
Yeah.
So if anybody sees my facial expression, I've heard these stories a million times, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, tell us about like the whole living thing, because this whole process, like me and him are talking every day, so I kind of know what's going on.
So
So-
you're not at like a luxury
we're-
hotel.
Okay, no,
apartment.
we're at this house. So the house was really nice, right?
Okay.
But nice to who, right? Like I thought it was nice, but like if you put that house here, it's not that nice, right?
The roof isn't a tin roof.
It is. It's a roof
That's
that makes a
nice.
noise.
Yeah.
You hear it the whole night. And beep, 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 you know it's
And
yeah.
cinder block walls.
So this house was a little bit more modern, but
Okay.
but yes, it's that style, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in 3 rooms. I had 2 roommates in a room the size of this room. So I had one bed here, right behind you, one bed where Josel is, and then one bed against the wall there, and then where Nancy's sitting would be the door out to the rest of the house.
So is this bringing you flashbacks and memories?
Nah. And the funny thing about it is I didn't care, right? What I did tell Nancy though was, when you're gonna come here, we're not gonna stay here. We're gonna go to a hotel because there's no space for you. Like
Yeah.
you there's no space, right?
Yeah.
And my clothes was in my luggage, right? But I didn't care. It didn't bother me. It wasn't like I'm telling this story and people are like, "Oh, it's so sad." Like, I mean, I told my mom this story and she's like crying, like, "Can't believe you didn't tell me you were going through this, like this, that, the other." And I'm like, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was my dream. Like, I
Right.
didn't. It was great.
Yeah.
I would wake up every day, walk to practice, which was probably the hardest part, train, and then I was in Costa Rica, like 75, 85 degree weather. Everyone is nice.
Mm-hmm.
No one is having a bad day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you go to the store, "Good morning, how are you?" in Spanish, right? People are now you're part of their like mini city, little part of their culture,
You're
right?
immersed in that culture.
Yeah, and you're using your money there, right? So obviously they see you, they're like, "Oh, this guy always comes here to buy this."
And
right?
they know you're from the team too.
Yeah, so they would know that we were on the team. We would get like newspapers sometimes and stuff. Like, people would know who we are, right?
You're popular there
Yes,
if you're on the team.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
You're
we
a
would.
superstar.
I wouldn't say a superstar, but you're definitely known because the thing is, so in any country, right? When an outsider comes, they never want to see them do better than the person who's there. That's a big thing. So like they'll take you in as long as you're there to help them.
Yeah.
But the moment you start doing really well, they're like, "Oh, but he's not even Costa Rican." So I encountered that in the team because I was one of the captains.
What ethnicity are you?
I'm Colombian. So
Okay.
I speak Spanish. So sometimes I would translate for the coach because he's Italian.
And he didn't spoke no Spanish. Even being in that culture.
He knew Spanish, but he wouldn't be able to get a whole entire sentence. Like, if he was trying to go fast and say something, he wouldn't be able to get it out. So he'd be like, "Translate," and I would translate real quick. So before that, I was always like the captain of the team, right? Like, I would translate Joe's message to the team before he made that. I'm thinking to myself, especially in the bad ones, like, what is this trying to teach me? That's all I'm thinking. Like, especially in adversity. What is this trying to teach me? Because a lot of the times when we think the negative side, it goes down, right? We're like, this is terrible. We're in the rain. My feet are wet. And I'm walking to training and I only brought one pair of socks and I got to train and then walk back in the same pair of socks, right? Like, it's just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. So now when you get to training, your head is like this, right? As opposed to like, okay, what is this trying to teach me? Well, this is trying to teach me that the grind is literally undefeated. Like, if you want to get to something, you got to grind, right? And my whole entire life, or I would say my whole entire career, is based off of that. Like, okay, fine, this is bad. What's the positive, right? So, like, I'm walking in the rain and I'm in Costa Rica in the jungle, but what's the positive? I'm walking to soccer practice, which is what I love, and it's warm. Like, it's raining, but it's warm water, right? So you right away, you see me smile, right? Because I just gave you 3 bad thoughts, but I smiled because my own brain is remembering that. So I'm smiling as I'm saying it because that's what I'm saying to myself. Like, oh, it's okay. I'm in Costa Rica. It's warm. At least I'm not walking by myself, right? I have a teammate next to me. So now we're walking together,
And
right?
it kind of stacks up because it's like, damn, remember what I went through at Montclair to get here now in Costa Rica? Like, I should be thankful. I'm even more grateful now that I went through all of that stuff. And, like, I don't know, every lesson is kind of like a blessing kind of thing.
No, literally every I said it before earlier in the podcast. I don't know at what point, but when we were talking, I said it like, whatever the adversity that you're going through now is gonna prepare you for what that next chapter.
Right.
And when I got to that next chapter, I was like, okay, now I understand. You got cut. You lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with your mom. All this stuff stacked up. Like, okay, now living with 3 people to live your dream in a room is not bad, right? Because I'm living with my mom for 25 years in the same room.
Yeah.
So that's one lesson, for example, that's like, that you wouldn't even think about, but subconsciously it's there. Like, oh, I can share a room.
It was a necessary step.
Necessary.
You need to get through that level to upgrade.
The first time Nancy slept at my house, we were at my grandma's house because my house was under construction. And me and Nancy slept on a futon in my grandma's room, right? Because she had a really big room. In the room on a not a futon, a foldable couch, while my mom was sleeping on the bed next to, or diagonal to us. So me and Nancy are like laying down watching Netflix, hanging out, and my mom is sleeping behind us. And it's like, people think to themselves like, you're gonna tell me I'm gonna bring my girl here? Like, that's embarrassing, right? Like, to some people, that to me, I'm like, pfft.
Doesn't matter.
And the thing to me was like, I was very cool about it. Like, I would mention it to her before, like, hey, is it cool if you like come? Like, she's like, yeah, of course, like this, that, the other, because like, she has a really nice house, right? She has a really big, nice house. Like, we can just go hang out in her basement. But like, no, come here. I'll show you where I live. I'll show you where I'm from. I'm not scared. Like, if you like it or not, that's up to you, right? That's not me.
Wow.
So I was always very like open in that sense with her about that. But I think every step made me be that comfortable. Right? Like, the uncomfortable. I'm almost, and Josel knows this. He's like that too. I'm almost more comfortable in the uncomfortable than I am comfortable in the comfortable.
Yeah, I'm less comfortable in the comfortable for sure.
When
It bothers you when you're comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
we
I get that.
we always have to do something hard to go through our day. Like, sometimes we'll be at the house and we're like, there's nothing to do today. Let's just go to the gym. Let's just nothing to do today. Let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
It's like, people don't do that on the weekend. It's like, lay down, put your feet up, like, enjoy, be warm. But that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Go outside in the cold
I do.
and do it. Like, go walk. And like, the other day, we literally bundled up, went to New York, and just walked in the cold.
But what is it about the discomfort that you find makes you better? I don't know if that kind of answers the question, but like, I kind of have an answer, and I want to hear yours.
I think that when I'm uncomfortable, being uncomfortable teaches you what you need to learn about yourself. So I think that makes me feel like I want to be uncomfortable because I want to learn more, right? People think that they know you, but only you know you, right? Because you know what makes you feel good. You know what makes you feel bad. You know what makes you happy. You know what makes you sad. You know what makes you everything, right? And people think they see this person on the outside and they think that they know you, but only you know you. Only you know what you want or what you really like or what makes you feel good. And I feel like when you're uncomfortable, you learn.
how you handle the situation. You know yourself even more. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you encounter so many hard situations in life. Like life is hard.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a
Yeah,
choice.
yeah.
Life is hard. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you get to a road where it's like you were handed this, deal with it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, I'm gonna turn around and walk back. It's like,
No,
wait, but
I'll
you,
just swipe to the next thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the next thing. Oh, close this window.
Yeah.
Let me close this chapter of my life.
without learning what you're supposed to learn.
Exactly.
So now you go into the next chapter, the same test presents itself, and you don't know the answer
It's gonna
again,
repeat. It's gonna repeat
again,
itself, yeah.
again, and again, and again, and again, and
And
every
that's the
chapter.
same. Those are the same people that complain that nothing changes because they're not changing anything.
Yeah.
And
So-
I think, yeah, the discomfort part you kind of touched on is like, I think that's where you learn the most about yourself. Definitely, like where only you know where your limit is, and then once you hit that point, like you usually go through some shit, and then you finally get past it because you're like, okay, I believed and I said I was going to do this thing, said I was going to open the gym, I said I was going to sign this contract, I'm going to do it by any means, love me or not for it, I'm still going to do it. And then once you get past all that and you break through, it just feels different,
Yeah.
and you tell a different story, and nobody can take that away from you ever.
Ever.
I think that's the answer right there. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You like it because you know you're coming out the other end better, and that you got through that stage, that challenge. Like let's say Mario, right? You pointed out the Nintendo.
Yeah.
You get through the level, you get that flag, whatever. Like, oh, cool. It gets harder.
Harder.
Now you're underwater. Now you gotta swim. You gotta get through Bowser. You gotta, and then once you get through all that, you're like, man, I made it. But everyone was.
I want to play it
progressively
again
harder.
on the hard mode.
Let me play it on hard mode. Let me play it on crazy mode or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what I enjoy too. Like you come up, you know you're leveling up when things do get more difficult. You have different problems, right? More money, more problems. Biggie had
Yeah.
it right, right? You know, more ambitious you are with your goals, the more problems you have, the more eyes you have on you, the more haters, the more people that are holding
Yeah,
their
the
breath
more
to see you
judgment.
fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more judgment. You know what I say to that? The people holding their breath to see you fail, make them suffocate.
Yeah.
Let them keep holding their breath.
So outside of discipline, what else is there that you still hold to today, and even things that you might want, like not only be remembered by, like give to your players?
For sure, discipline. My second one, what was it that I said? We had come up. I had my three that I was like, this is what.
Oh,
I
in
live
your
by.
practice?
Yeah.
Oh, you had a practice.
My first one.
I would dance.
But I wasn't talking to him.
She
It was him.
honestly, she did a.
Poor job.
Yeah. She made me feel like I was talking too much, and I've been talking the whole time since I got here. So I was right about talking the whole time.
Well, that would be honest, right? Because she was like, "Oh, we were joking."
Yeah.
That's just honest.
She's honest.
right. You're just
Sometimes you
honest.
need those people in your life. That's why I have two of them right next to me.
Yeah.
I would say discipline, and I would say, one of the ones that I know that I live and die by is a cleaner mentality.
Mhm.
From I mean, obviously I know you,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
it because he knows it, and I know. But cleaner mentality. So Nancy asked me, "What is that? Is that even a thing?"
Describe it to someone that doesn't know what that means.
Yeah,
A
to the general
cleaner-
audience.
So a cleaner mentality is having the type of mentality that you get the job done no matter what,
Mhm.
whatever it takes. If you need to bite someone's ear off like Mike Tyson to win, you do it. It doesn't matter what it is, you get it done. And I think that mentality is something that I carry with me
Mhm.
because my mom was also like that, like single family home, you know, for the first 9 years of my life, like it was just me and my mom, right?
Yeah.
So I saw her not do anything crazy, but I saw her do whatever it took to make sure we had everything we needed,
Mhm.
whether it was financially for my soccer career, whether it was in the fridge, whether it was a roof over our head, whatever it was, she just did whatever she needed to do to make it happen. And I think that's something that stuck with me, but I didn't know what it was until I read the book, and I was like, holy, like this is what my mom has lived. This is how my mom has lived her life,
Mhm.
and this is how I will continue to live the rest of my life. Like I'll tell you this, when I go out with Nancy to eat somewhere, or we go do something, my phone is not ever on, like you guys see it right now, it's somewhere hidden because it's
Yeah.
not a part of like us, right? When I go with anywhere, I want to give you 100%. I'm the type of person that I give 1,000% in anything that I do. I'm all in all aspects. Like I came here, this is my first podcast, but I'm giving you the guys 1,000%. I'm trying right now as hard as I can, whether it looks like it or not.
You are, man. No,
No,
it
no,
looks
no.
great.
And
it's natural.
and it's like I'm everything that I do. I'm like that.
Yeah.
Like I'll coach the worst soccer player that I've ever coached, and I'll give that kid the best hour of his life.
I sensed that in our shoot. Remember the commercial?
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, dang, they really doing a thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, Josel was like, "Yo, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Let's freestyle. Put out a ladder, throw some soccer balls at me.
Yeah.
Try it. I don't know. Let's freestyle."
Remember we made it happen when the other kid had bailed last minute.
Yeah.
Hit me up in the morning. I was like, yo, dude, where you at? He's like, oh, yo, my bad. I forgot to tell you I double booked. I go, well, everybody's here, so what do we do? I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to bring my own camera.
Yeah.
And just make it happen. And
It came out
pretty
great.
dope. Yeah.
It turned out probably better than what. I mean, I'm not to bash the other kid, but I'm saying it turned out pretty great.
It was
Cost
Eric,
us-
wasn't it? It was Eric.
Yeah. It cost us $0.
Oh my.
All right. Discipline, cleaner. What else?
And disciplined cleaner. You remember the last one that we had spoken about?
Commitment.
It's the same thing.
No, it's the same
Think
thing.
of something better.
We had talked about it. Can we come back to that? No. Next question, please. No, just kidding.
Discipline.
We had
clear
spoken about
mentality.
discipline, the cleaner mentality, and
I think
What do
it
you want to be remembered by? Like, what story
Yeah.
do you want to write? How about that?
I want to be remembered as someone. I mean, this is like so basic, but I want to be remembered as someone who was counted out and never gave up.
Yeah, I think cleaner and relentless are the same thing, so I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying to
didn't-
help you, but
The word was resilient.
There you go.
Resilient. Yeah,
I was
Why?
To be honest, I would say the resilience is the one that has stuck with me the most. The other two are super important, right? They're super core values, but resilience is one that is just not giving up no matter what, and just being okay with it not working out in that moment, right? So like you try something, it didn't work out, it's okay, but you have to try again.
Yeah.
You have to, because how do you know? And I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have to try. Like I see my players. I had a player. His name is Noah Franco. He just got signed to NYCFC. I started coaching him when he is. So in high school, I had my best friend. His name was Ricardo Franco. He had a son, and his son is really good, right? And he wanted me to coach him, right? So at first I was like a little bit nervous, right? Because you're kind of coaching your your friend's son, so you don't want to say the wrong thing because he might tell his dad, and his dad might get upset, right? So it's like a weird thing. So when I started coaching, I would hold off on certain things. One day Rick was like, "Yo, coach him for real, like, just do your thing." I'm like, all right. So I started coaching him. I started inviting him to tournaments and stuff. And this kid would never shoot the ball. He wouldn't shoot. So I pulled him to the side. I'm like, why don't you shoot? He's like, what if I miss? What if I shoot it out of bounds? I don't, or no, sorry. He goes, I missed the one before. And I was like, so you're not going to try again? He's like, but I missed. I'm like, so? The whole point of the game is to keep trying. Life is a game.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't get it on the first try, it's not the end of the game. You continue playing, continue trying, and then eventually how we were saying, you get to that next level. But if you don't try, and I think that's the biggest thing with me, like I'll try anything to make whatever it is that I'm trying to figure out happen. Like I was running a speed and agility program thing, camp for 8 weeks. First 3 weeks, obviously, I know how to run a camp, and I know how to do speed and agility. I know how to do all that. I did the drills that I knew, and then I got to week 3, and I was like, damn, I don't know what to do. 1 second later, I'm on the phone with Josel. Josel's giving me a complete breakdown, but it's like, I'm going to figure it out, like no matter what, right? If I didn't have Josel, I would go online and look for something. I would find someone. A lot of times, people just like, they say, I don't know, and that's it.
Yeah, but you have to learn to be resourceful.
Be okay with having people who are smarter than you.
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
It's okay to say I don't know, but I can find out for you. Give me a minute. Like for me as a financial advisor, I don't have all the answers. I'll say I don't know, but I can find out for you, and then we'll get back to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing about being resilient. Like it's okay not to know. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to fail, but trying again. You have to try.
Yeah.
You don't know until you try. And if you do try and you fail, it's just that wasn't the right answer.
Mm.
Is it the end of the world? No, you just try again.
You exemplify resilience because how many times did you get cut from Montclair?
4 in
And then
total.
you went to Kane, and how many credits didn't transfer over? 44.
Yep.
And you were considered a freshman. And then they got wind of you going back to Montclair. Then they gave you a tryout. Then you had the MCL sprain.
Yep.
Then you couldn't do that tryout. And then you made the team. They played you for 42 seconds. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Everything's ever getting thrown at you.
Yeah.
They prepared you.
And I think it's, to be honest, people might think of it as like, oh, this kid had such a hard life. And I'm like, I love it here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always tell this to Nancy, like every time we talk about something about being grateful, I always tell her, I'm like, I wasn't supposed to be here.
Enjoy the suck.
Like I wasn't supposed, think about it. I come from a single family home. My mother was working when I was in school. When I would get out of school, she was still working, right? I didn't have the resources financially because she was the one providing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lived in a town. I wouldn't call my town ghetto, but I wouldn't say it's the hood, but it's also not like people aren't driving around like Range Rovers and Mercedes or Bentleys and stuff like that.
What
Like
town was that?
it's Hudson County,
Hudson County.
so North
Okay.
Bergen.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's like the worst place in the world, right? Because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no one that had done what I was trying to do.
Well, a lot of the
to
odds
follow.
were against you from the jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you still found a way to do what you wanted to do because you believed in it so much and you
Yeah.
saw it in your mom.
Yeah.
And I think like that's a big reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast. Like whether you own a business or you're trying to own a business or whether you're a pro or you're trying to go pro, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. But if you're chasing or I guess walking a path that other people don't do, it's not weird. Like
Yeah,
other
you're-
people do
you're
it.
You're
you know?
taking
Yeah.
action on it.
It just like takes I guess opening your perspective and seeing like, oh, I think that's why we started to get along so well because you said it before, like we were both chasing somebody that nobody saw but us.
Yep.
And when we felt that from each other, I was like, oh, I see it for you. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I know you're gonna open a gym too. I'm like, all right, bet, let's go.
Yeah, let's
And that
grind.
just makes it better, yeah.
You have somebody that you can relate to, even if it's just one person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now you can bounce ideas off of them. You can, look, and I feel like the word comfort is gonna sound like, oh, I'm looking for Giselle to comfort me. It's not like I'm looking for Giselle to comfort me. I'm looking for him to tell me the truth. Like, don't. I'm not looking for comfort.
Yeah.
For that,
Tell me how it is.
yeah,
That's
for
more
that, I'll go
valuable.
home and tell Nancy, like, babe, let's cuddle or something, look for comfort. But, like, I
We've
don't,
cuddled once or twice.
like, come on. Like, I go to Giselle, I'm like, yo, we have it's funny because I'm still chasing, I want to say greatness because so Giselle's not the type of person to tell you you're doing really good at something if you're doing really good, right? And I love that. So I'll send him a video.
better.
So real.
And do better.
That's good, but do it better.
I'll send him a video of me doing like the most ideal, perfect deadlift, and he's like, "It can be faster." I'm like, "Damn, I love that."
Yeah.
Like, you're right. It can be fast. Somebody else would be like, "Oh, it's good. It looks
Yeah.
really good. Your form is good. This, that, the other, whatever, right?" Because they're trying to build you up, make you feel good.
Yeah.
But that's not what makes me feel good. I don't want you to, be like, "Oh, it's so good. Yeah, great job." I want you to be like, "Yo, it has to go faster on the way up."
But he knows you could take that criticism. There's some athletes, I do powerlifting coaching as well, that through interactions you do realize if I said something like that, holy
They
crap.
get a new coach.
No, not even get a new coach. It would throw off their whole week.
Oh.
So you just have to learn how to communicate. I do have athletes where I could say, do better, go faster. That was too easy. What do you mean you're capping it there? But then there's others where it's like, that was good. If they always question themselves, I'll try to get them to a point where it's like, all right, let me give them some motivation and then push them in a certain way by putting more weight. So when they see the program, they go, you really think I can do this? I'm like, absolutely. And
Well,
that's it.
I think as a coach, and we're all us three coaches here. I think you have to give every player what they need, and not one size fits all.
But how did that gain your trust to be able to speak like this and have our relationship? Like what made you think like, okay, I can trust this person with helping me chase my dream, because like that's not
Well,
this
you
is
would
important to
always
you. So why would you trust me?
Yeah,
You
because
would
that's
al-
your dream.
he would always tell me it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Like I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not good enough. Like you can always give a little bit more. That's why I'm like so big on I'm gonna give everything. Be
Mhm.
undeniable.
Mhm.
If you fail, so what? If I do something and I give 1,000% and it's bad, I'm like, all right, I tried.
Yeah.
What can we fix? Where can we tweak? What can I do? This, that, the other. It's like, how can we always tweak it, right?
Mhm.
Because people are like, oh, this is perfect. No, it's not.
How can we be better? Yeah.
There's always better.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody faster, stronger, quicker, thinking ahead. So how can we not fall behind, right? Because if you're not training it, whatever it is that you're doing, you're falling behind. I saw this with my parents all the time, with the parents of my players. They if we're not training, somebody else is training and we're falling behind that line.
Mhm.
So like we were first in line, right? We didn't train for a week, now we're third. We didn't train for 2 weeks, now we're in seventh,
Mhm.
right? And somebody's always trying to. So be undeniable. Give your all at all times. Don't half-ass it,
Mhm.
because people in the room like us, sharks, lions, whatever you want to call them, you can smell that from a mile
Oh
away.
yeah, you could sense it.
Oh my,
Yeah.
it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And not
Mhm.
only that, once you sense it, it's hard to change your perspective of that person.
And not capitalize on it. Yeah.
One of the things in the book Winning is like I went to go play at AP2T the other day, and there's no offsides, right?
Mhm.
So everyone, when we play, right, people running behind the defense, and they sometimes hang out in the back, so the other team has to you stretch them out essentially, right?
Yeah,
You make
yeah.
them defend the whole field, right? So there was a day where like for some reason I just kept going off sides. They would leave me because they would forget about me and I'd get the ball and score, right? And it counts because there's no offsides.
Mhm.
And one of the kids who's my friend said to me, he's like, bro, why do you keep abusing the same thing? And I looked over at him and I said, I'm going to abuse it until you guys defend it.
Mm. And keep doing it. Yeah.
I'm going to abuse it.
Yeah.
So in the book Winning, it says something along those lines where it's like, if you can't guard me going right, why would I go left?
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going right until you can defend it, and
Yeah.
then once you defend it, I'll go the other
Go
way.
left.
But can we can we? It's not even about abusing it; it's about taking advantage, because that's your fault.
Yeah.
You can't defend that side. That's on you,
Yeah.
not on me. Why should I choose a different route?
Why are you trying to change my game? Like in BJJ or MMA,
Yeah.
it's I'm gonna keep doing my game, and I'll be the champion until somebody figures out my game and beats me. But other than that, I'm gonna keep it the same.
Who's the guy that they call the bear, or he used to wrestle the bear?
The bear.
Baby, he's retired now.
What's his name?
Khabib.
Khabib. Yeah, Khabib.
Khabib was a master at what he did.
Yeah.
He would use the same submissions.
Same.
He was a submission guy.
Yeah.
And if people would try to be like, all right, let's keep him on his feet and fight him, he's gonna get you to the ground. He's gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
He's seen it too many times.
He's gonna stay in his game.
And if you can't defend it, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You saw it with Conor McGregor.
Like the style bender too.
Um,
That's style bender.
Is he?
Yeah. Israel Adesanya.
Oh yeah. I know who that is.
I mean, you can't figure out his game, but the moment you do, yeah, you beat him. But then that's would be a cue to change something.
You have to.
Yeah.
The thing is, you. So for example, going back to that thing, you go right. You're beating him every time, but he learns how to defend it. Now, can you change?
Yeah, you have to be able to adapt.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because now I have to go left, or I have to go right left.
So here's like a future question. I don't want to ask you like a past, like reflecting back. I want to look forward. If you could talk to, how old are you?
29.
29. If you could talk to, say, Stevie in 10 years from now, what kind of advice would you ask from him? Or how do you picture yourself then? Like, what kind of person are you? You can answer either of those.
I'm gonna answer the first one. So, what advice I would ask for? I would ask is my methodology and my idea of how I plan on running the club that I'm working at and taking over, is it the right way to do it? And
What would he answer? If you were having a conversation with him right now.
to be honest, I'm so obsessed with change that I would he would say yes because I'm gonna figure it out even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
So
So,
you're
like-
good. You're good. You have the plan now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was thinking about that earlier, and I was thinking to myself like, what would I want to ask them, right? And essentially, you want to ask them if what you're doing is right, right? Because like we're putting all this like we don't have a roadmap, right? We don't know where it's gonna take us.
Mhm.
Putting all these hours of work, and I want to know if it's like if I'm putting them in the right place. Like maybe you take 3 hours away from soccer and put it into like I don't know 2 hours of studying stocks. That's what this person in 10 years is gonna tell me, right? But that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear like yeah you're doing or you didn't have it but you figured it out. I'm
Mhm.
okay with that too. Like, and I know that's what it's probably gonna be because it's always changing, right? Life is always changing. Things are always changing, right? So like my methodology or my idea or my philosophy might be tiki taka, let's just say, but in 5 years the players don't want to play tiki taka anymore, and I have to change because I'm the coach, right? It's not change the players, it's change yourself as a coach, change
Right.
yourself as a person, right? What is this? I couldn't deadlift with a regular bar before because my back would hurt. So what did Josel do? He found a different way.
The hex bar.
Or I couldn't squat. I couldn't
Couldn't
back squat. So what did we do? We used the bar with the strap,
Safety bar.
the safety,
Safety
bar,
bar,
so I
yeah.
can squat. It's like, but that
Adapt or die, baby.
Adapt or die.
but whose job was that? That
No.
was Giselle. He had to change for me.
No. No, your job to get it done.
Yeah,
He
I
gave
mean,
you your assignment.
he's like, this is it. Figure.
But
it
I
out.
wouldn't let you out. Like
No,
it is
you-
my way or like
Yeah.
I get the fuck out.
No.
I think so. Giselle, when he had his gym, he had people who would train there, and some of those people would ask him when was I training, so they can come and train at the same time.
Mhm.
Because me and Giselle were like, it's like two hungry lions just.
It was a
found-
show in there.
It was just we were just like it was like we wanted. So me and Giselle always talk about this. Like when we win,
Mhm.
when I win, when he wins, I don't want to just win. I want to drag you through the town so everyone sees it, right? Because, and it sounds funny, but like they would do the same to you if they could,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So like, it's a thing where like when we would train together and those people would come, it's like who's gonna come up to our level because we're not coming down.
Mhm.
Like, are you gonna join us up here or are you just gonna stand there and let us look down at you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the difference between like good and average, and there's great and undeniable.
Yeah.
And I think being obsessed with that is huge. I think the obsession, people think of it as a bad word,
Mhm.
right? Like, oh, you're obsessed. That's not good. But, I mean, not
You
good.
have to
Not
be.
good to not good to you.
So I'm gonna guess you love to win, or do you hate to lose?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with winning, and I love it. I love what it takes to win. You can't just show up.
Yeah.
You can't.
It takes losing to win.
It does.
I'll give you guys a little story about adversity that I faced recently because I know that's something that we wanted to talk about. So as you guys know, I still train. Like if I still train like if I had a game tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? And I was going to AP2T, right? And all the pros came back from their season for break, so they were all training there. We're playing 3 times a week. And the first 2 weeks, I was god awful, terrible. I couldn't. It wasn't like I was starstruck. It wasn't like I couldn't get my feet to do what I wanted,
Mhm.
right? So it was like almost like I was stuck in the mud. Somebody else would just stop showing up because it's embarrassing, right? 24 guys.
And you're not a pro anymore.
I'm
so-
not a pro anymore.
Mhm.
24 guys. 22 of them are pro, right? And they play at a high level, some of them are making over 6 figures a year,
Mhm.
playing the most beautiful game in the world.
Mhm.
And I can't get a damn pass off. And it's like, anybody else, just stop showing up.
Yeah. Would have given up. Yeah.
You're not going pro, right? Because we're past that, right? We're looking at the future. I still play for my team in New York City, right? And I still make money off of the game playing, but it's not at the same commitment level,
Mhm.
right? I'm not training every day for that team. I'm not training every day with that team. I'm training by myself with my trainer or in the gym or whatever it is. Still like if I was chasing that dream, but I'm not, there's no like I'm not chasing a trial, right? A
Yeah.
tryout with the team, right? I just train because I love it, because I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So anyone would just be like, fuck it, just keep playing, friendlies, and just go to the gym and wait until the pros leave and then go back to training.
Mhm.
And it was like every time I played bad, I would want to go again and again and again and again and again. Fast forward about 2 weeks, and I finally got my feet under me, and it was like, okay, I can play here now,
Mhm.
right? But those 2 weeks of adversity were terrible, right? You're like, damn, when is this? You call it, right? As a player, sometimes you say luck. When is this bad luck gonna end?
Yeah.
When am I gonna get my
Or like
feet
in a
under?
slump, yeah.
In a
Or
slump.
like out of form. Or
Out of
like-
form.
yeah.
Out of form is the perfect word to put it. With the
Yeah.
perfect way to put it. And it was like, when is this gonna end, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that the reason it wasn't ending was because I wasn't training the things that I needed to train more. So like I would go to the gym. I would
Mhm.
go to training.
He just did upper every day. That's why. He did curls.
To get jacked.
No. I used. You know what's
He
funny?
bench 5 days a week. Not powerlifter.
When I was
Soccer player.
when I was going with when I first started going to the gym with Josel and I started seeing gains in my chest, I would do chest 3 times a week.
So I love chest.
Oh
He
my
sent me
God.
more pics than he was sending you for sure.
Look at my chest.
I was like, oh, I can't stop doing chest. No, but it wasn't embarrassing for the first 3 weeks because I have such thick skin. For the first 2 weeks because I have such thick skin. I don't care.
But did that affect like your ego or identity?
I think it definitely affected my ego in the sense of like, if you really want to compete at this level, you got to put in more work than what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't be half in, right? And I've never been the half in kind of person, but because I was like, oh, it's okay. Like I'm not trying to go pro. I would like, kind of like maybe take my foot off the gas.
A little complacent.
A little complacent, exactly. And then I realized like, all right, well, and I said it to myself and I said it to Nancy. It was like, either I stop playing and just play for fun, right? Or if I want to play at that level with those players and still compete, I have to train at that level.
Yeah. You have to get better.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, people are like, most people would be, it's okay, I don't want to train anymore. I'm good.
I'm not going pro
I'm not going
anyway,
pro
so
anyway.
why?
And I'm the opposite.
I think the difference is like you're doing it for you. Like other people are doing it, so like when they post the winning team, they're on the winning team.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it because you want to be better and you want to push yourself and be in an environment with elite people, and that speaks a lot about like your character.
It's an obsession, like I said before. I think it's an obsession for you too. I mean, I think
Just
it's
to play the
I think
game.
we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't an obsession,
Yeah.
right? And it's, I go again to say that word. People are like, oh, obsessive, this, that, the other. No,
Yeah.
you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be. I heard, one of my favorite motivational speakers, his name is Inky Johnson. He said in one of his reels, he said, "It takes what it takes.
Mhm.
There's no other way around it. And if you want to be great, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes what it takes. You want to buy a house? It takes this much money. You gotta have that money. It
gotta,
takes what
yeah.
it takes. Like you can't go somewhere and be like, all right, I'm gonna buy this house. I have $20 though. It's like, what? it takes this much money to be able to. Sometimes people, financial advisors, won't even
Yeah.
have a conversation with you if you're not in a certain bracket.
They don't.
It takes.
They don't.
It
Yeah,
takes
we
what
don't.
it takes, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to be there. You have to have that. You have to grind for it.
Yeah.
It takes what it takes. And like people are like, it takes that much to do this. Nah, I'm good.
Nah, I don't want it. Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And then they're chilling right here, 10 years go by and they're still chilling right here. 20 years go by and they're chilling right here. And it's like they see you and they're like, damn, how are you so committed? How are you so? It's like, do hard shit all the time.
Or
I'm
you hear that
sorry.
It must be nice, but you don't realize what it took to get to that point.
They don't.
It makes your path more clear when you see other people taking the more crowded one. That's the way I look at it. Like most people would be scared of that pathway, and I feel like all of us and maybe people listening are like, if I see less people there, I'm more inclined to go that way because I know it's difficult, but I'm way worth it than everybody else just following and not having a story to tell.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Nancy always says that the new generation makes it easier for her because it weeds out the people who aren't really willing to get to that point in their life
Yeah.
to be great.
Go against the grain, do something different. I think culturally too, Josel can attest to that, where were coming up as immigrants and they're looking for more job security, right? I could have been a nurse, typical Filipino, be a nurse.
This guy said something to me. Sorry to cut you
No,
off.
no, you're good.
When he was at the first gym, he said it as a joke, but I know it meant a lot in the moment because of the way that he said it. He said he got home. He made this as a joke. He's like, "Yeah, I get home and my parents ask me, not a doctor yet? Go back out. And
Come
it's
back
like,
when you doctor.
come back when
Come
you're
back
doctor."
when you're doctor.
And he made that joke, and at the time, me and Eric were dying. We're like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious!" And then the year passed, and I was like, "Holy shit, his family's judging him for being a gym owner
Dead ass.
Like,
we feel that.
because they think like, oh, it's just a gym."
They're not
right?
gonna make any money. They're always there.
But
They're
when he
like-
said that to me, like in the moment, it was hilarious.
yeah,
I was like, "That's funny." And then years passed, and I was like, "I'm with you, brother."
But that's the difference. Like, we're not the type of people to complain. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be like, this is my choice. It takes what it takes. If I want to fucking do this, I'm gonna do it because I want to. It's not. That's it.
you feel guilty for a little bit. Like I had to hide it from my parents because you go, "What are you doing?" Right? You almost sound crazy. You're giving up a full-time job to see if something works. It's like I just want to try. Right? What if I never tried? I'd regret it the rest of my life. I'm 39. By the way, I'm 40 this year. So I understand the whole,
Yeah.
people are writing you off, telling you you can't do this, do that. And I empathized with being at your mom's place till what, 20?
So I still live with my parents, but
Yeah.
I didn't have my own room until I was 27.
I stayed at my mom's till I was 38. I didn't move out till last year, February, with my fiance. We slept at my parents' house.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But people don't like that. They don't want to hear that.
People don't want to hear that. Be like, "Oh, you still?" I was like, "Yeah," and they'll see my reaction. They go, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, you don't
They're like-
mind? You don't care?" I was like, "I don't know. What does it matter?" They're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Do you see this? Do you see that?" This is like, "What are you doing?" Like when you were saying earlier, "Oh, okay, cool," but what are you doing? Right? Not to judge you, but clearly you feel okay to judge me. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Well-
you can kind of see that. You can smell it. You're like, you're not a shark.
Yeah.
So I posted a video of me playing the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent the picture of the Instagram insights,
Mm-hmm.
and I had 9 people send it to someone else.
Oh, they shared it.
They shared it.
They shared it.
So I sent the picture to Nancy, and I said, "People are always wondering how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their problem, though.
Yeah.
It's not their problem how I do it."
Don't waste your time on trying to figure out how I'm doing it.
Why-
Unless you're gonna try to replicate it, right, and be better from it. As long as you're taking it as a learning experience,
Yeah.
not hating and from the sideline. That's a waste of time and energy.
Yeah. So
I mean,
who
that comes with the role that you're in and the power that you have. Like, we're
It
just
is.
different, you know.
100%.
That comes with it.
100%. And when I told her that, and she was like, I mean, I sent her the thing, and I told her, I was like, people are always wondering, and I started thinking to myself, like, they're sending this video to someone, and then commenting on the bottom like, this guy's still playing, he's 29 years old, blah, 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 whatever, right? And that stuff fuels me. I love that. It's like I make up stories in my head, like, who sent it? All right, this person sent it. Oh, he definitely was talking shit. Like,
That's
I love that.
motivating you
Now
to
I'm
do
gonna
it.
go train again. Now I'm gonna go
Yeah.
train even harder.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna post 10 videos of me training,
Yeah.
right? So it's like that fire,
It
right? And I
fuels you.
use that to my advantage because I'm still a super competitive person. I compete in everything that I do. Like,
Mhm.
we compete to get to our house first when we're driving. Meanwhile, we're like,
Trying to
meanwhile,
race.
Living with this
Wait,
guy is
what do you
not
drive?
safe.
Nancy, what do you drive?
she cooks me with her A4. She drives an Audi A4
What do you drive,
Quattro,
Stevie?
a Honda Civic. But I always beat her with my maneuvers. I
You
go
got to
like,
take it to the tracks.
so it's
That I don't ever, I don't show out because I also drive stick, so I could really.
yeah.
Oh,
she
your
could-
A4 stick?
Yeah, she
Oh,
can. If she wanted to, she can leave me in the dust. But you know what I do to her? I'll weave in between the so she lives on in Springfield,
Mhm.
so we have to take 78, and you know how it has this express and the local.
Yeah.
So you can, if you know where it is, you can like merge between the local and the express. So sometimes like we'll be on the left lane I'll be right behind her, and I'll just get out onto the local, and she'll stay on the express. And the local, sometimes you can have a chance to like weave in
Weave
between
through,
cars, so
yeah.
I'll beat her. But she knows shortcuts when we get to her house, so she'll like go through a back route, and I'm like, I beat her, pulling into her driveway. Meanwhile, she's already getting out of the car, like looking at her, like, oh my god, how'd you get here so fast? I took a back road.
All right, before we give anything else away that will get you arrested, what are what are some final words that you want to give to, you know, anybody watching or any advice or listening? Sorry.
Anyone listening to this, I want to say two things. Number one, whatever it is that you're chasing, stay the course. It'll all be worth it. And the second thing that I want to say is my favorite line ever: the grind is undefeated. I'll say that again. The grind is undefeated. It's the only thing that'll get you to the next level. What you want is on the other side of that. And it's going to take a lot. I started at 23 and I didn't sign my first professional contract until I was 26. It's 3+ years, including all the other years of grinding before I got what I wanted. So don't give up. It's literally on the other side of it.
All right, throw the mic now across the room and then shut the camera.
I also want to say thank you to my beautiful girlfriend for sitting here for hours and watching us
Yeah,
speak.
Nancy.
The GOAT.
Shout out. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Of course, anytime.
Appreciate you.
Anytime. This guy.
Peace.